right, I'm back.
Ladies and gentlemen, Cameron Rich is back, and we're back here on 3Y TV for tonight's DMLC Racing Channel Desert Sun 150 from ISM Raceway. And Cameron, glad to be back here on 3Y TV. Everyone listening knows that you're back now, but you know what? It's a great race here tonight. It's the penultimate round of the Sim Marketing Solutions Cup Series here in the ASRS Cup Series, and you know what? It's going to be an absolute fantastic race, Cameron. I absolutely love coming to ISM Raceway. This is one of my favorite places to come because it's a flat track. It races a little bit like a short track. It's definitely a driver's racetrack. What are your thoughts about Phoenix?
Yeah, it's definitely a driver's track, and I think, like you said, all these drivers probably really excited to be back here, and probably more excited to be back away from Talladega from a couple weeks ago, where we saw, I believe, Ty Hester took the win there. And a pretty controversial finish, but kind of what we expect at Talladega. But definitely going to be a different style of racing here tonight. This is a flat-ish. It used to be flat, but it's not really that flat anymore. Around a 1 mile track, and it's definitely going to be a different style of racing for all of these guys. And I think, for a championship contender, a bit more control in the driver's hands this type of race than at Talladega.
Absolutely. I mean, every year we come to ISM Raceway kind of towards the end of the season, both in the real world and here in the SRS series. And you know what? Really, if you're on the outside looking in, the only way to punch your way into the season finale in the SMS Cup Series is a win here tonight at ISM Raceway. And we're going to see a lot of very, very fast drivers out there as we have just under 30 seconds left now here in practice or thereabouts. Brian Yazik currently sits atop the board with the 25.009. Gary Whitson in the 33 machine currently sitting second on the board. Troy Haight third. Mitch Brown has just jumped himself up into fourth, and Bryce Whitson in the 88 machine currently rounds out your top five here in practice. There is that number 88 machine sitting on pit road right now, but the track is kind of cool because we just had the drivers meeting and all these drivers stayed in their pit box. Allows the track to cool down just a little bit. There's that 51 of Mitch Brown currently sitting in the fourth position as we transfer over to qualifying. And Cameron, interesting here to note, we'll come back to the points here in just a moment, but interesting here to note, there's only one lap in qualifying for these drivers tonight.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be imperative to get through turns 3 and 4 as effectively and as quickly as possible to get that the momentum kind of worked up to start your lap time. And we're probably going to see all these drivers cut that inside dog leg on the backstretch as closely as they can. But I do believe they are running the layout here. You see those cones on the bottom side of the racetrack. It's actually called the Indy layout, where you cannot go below those cones, or you will get a penalty from iRacing. So we won't see the typical 3-4 wide that we see in the real life at this track, just because the league has decided to use against using that layout. So definitely be interesting to see there. But a new look for that number 42 this week, Jim Foos's machine there. That's black, red, and kind of yellow and gold on that machine. Good looking car right there, I gotta say. Looks very very apt for this racetrack here in Phoenix, and we'll see what he's able to put up in qualifying. That number 42 was pretty not too great in practice. Was actually about 20th place, but currently a 25.467 on the board right now. He is currently fourth of 4 cars, so probably Jim Foose looking for a little bit more speed out here tonight, and he is one of the playoff contenders, so definitely going to need to come out here and do something and probably make something happen big now.
Yeah, and there is the number 6 machine, Jared Haggerty. He jumps into the 5th slot. Currently, 2 weeks ago, the winner, Ty Hester, in the number 36 machine. He is currently atop the leaderboard. He won the Talladega race just 2 weeks ago. Here's the 06 machine coming across the line. Looks like he is going to jump up into the 7th position. Here we got the number 11 machine, Seville. He's going to go across the line. Looks like he is on his first time lap. They only get 1 time lap, as we said. Here goes through the dogleg. You see it's really flat down there. If they don't have those cones down there, they could go all the way to the inside wall, but they've elected to use the cone layout like you said, Cameron. And now going through turn number 3 and 4, keeping it down there on that yellow line. You see it's kind of a very oddly shaped racetrack, this one. This is one where You can really play with a couple different lines. You can actually use that apron just a little bit as Seville puts himself into the third position. And so far, that number 11 machine is the highest of the playoff contenders trying to get his way into the season finale, the championship round at Homestead, Miami in just a few weeks' time here in the SMS Cup Series. Here is Jonathan Holstein in the 73 machine. He's headed down the front stretch into turn number 1, carrying lots of speed on that 73. We saw him with some good runs at Talladega in that car. Definitely was up near the front for most of those races as he works his way now through 3 and 4. And you can see, Cameron, just the lines that you take around this race joint, it's just a little bit different just because how shallow it is on exit coming out of turn number 4.
Yeah, a couple of things to be noted about this race. Compared to the old layout of Phoenix, which was a lot flatter and a lot more of a, I would like to say, a driver's racetrack. This is a bit of a faster racetrack now, and with these 2019 Cup cars, these guys are flat flying around this racetrack. You see 25.2-ish second laps that will be putting up. Brian Yazik actually putting up a 25.214 to go P1 right now. He was quickest in practice, number 55 out here showing a lot of speed. I don't believe he's actually been able to get a win in the Cup Series side of things yet, and not being a playoff driver himself, the number 55 probably out here to try to make a statement. He wants to come out here and end the year on a good note, maybe with a win or two, and kind of get his 2020 started off in the right direction. Right there, the 24 of Alan Young on the racetrack right now.
Yeah, and Cameron, Brian hasn't gotten to victory lane so far this year. And that's kind of surprising for some people. I know at the beginning of the season, we started off with Tanner Sharp alongside me. And Tanner, if you're watching this broadcast, we hope you're feeling better, recovering from some surgery. But, Tanner said that Brian Yazik was a kind of a driver who enjoyed racing a racetrack. And this is definitely one of those racetracks where it's a driver's racetrack. You're always battling a ill-handling car here, really, just because both ends of the racetrack are so different. You're going to have one corner where the car just doesn't drive very well. Turn 3 and 4 tend to be quite a bit flatter than turns number 1 and 2, and I think that is definitely going to suit Brian Yazik here tonight, and I think that is why he currently sits top of the board. Speaking of looking up near the top of the board, there is that 51 machine. Mitch Brown just went third and is currently the fastest of the playoff drivers yet to turn a time. We haven't seen the 00 of Jared Mogard yet out there on the racetrack. He still has about 5 minutes left here in qualifying, but let's go look at the points standings here on the Cup Series side. Jared Mogard currently leading those points. The Mitch Brown and the 51 machine currently sitting second. Tim Knott third. Haggerty fourth. But it really starts to get interesting around Jim Foose and Tim Knott. Foose is only 5 points to the good. Tim Knott 4 points to the good. And then you have Will Worsler. Will Worsler is not here tonight. He's out of town, unable to find an iRacing simulator to jump on. And unfortunately, we will not see him out there on the racetrack unless he somehow springs into the session right at the end. But like I said, he is out of town. He was looking for a sim rig to possibly jump on, but he was unable to do so. Kelsey Rogers, however, he's 10 points behind Tim Knott, definitely needing a good run here tonight. And Kelsey Rogers has yet to turn a time in that number 35 machine. We do have the 00 Jared Mogard on the racetrack right now. But he doesn't look like he's up to full speed. Not quite sure what is up with that 00 machine.
Yeah, he's actually kind of just looks like he's running a leisurely lap, kind of just running around. He just ran straight through the cones right there, so I think that's going to disqualify his lap. Not sure what he's doing. Maybe he's just kind of out there to have some fun. But I kind of want to touch a little bit more on Will Worsler. That kind of shows you how fickle this playoff system is. Number 29 of Will Worsler was one of the favorites going into this playoffs and dominated Las Vegas. Got caught up in a wreck pretty late there and ended up with a not so great finish. Same thing with Talladega. He looked like one of the cars to beat there, and another wreck at the end. And right there, he's not being here tonight. He is absolutely 100% out of the playoff contention. So it's a big shame for that 29 machine, but definitely put up a good year nonetheless. Another car on track there. 26 of Lee Staples currently goes 14th quickest, 25.489 for that machine. And there's Kelsey Rogers on track, another one of our playoff drivers, and see what kind of lap time he puts up. A 25.496 goes into P15. So a lot of our playoff drivers kind of back in the field a little bit tonight, Peter. They're going to have the work cut out for them tonight.
Yeah, definitely going to have their work cut out for them. But this is a racetrack where, like I said, driver's racetrack. You can make passes here. You got to be patient. But you can definitely also save a little bit of tire here, which can help on the long run. So you tend to see some comers and goers here at ISM Raceway when we do come to this racetrack. So got to look at the penalties. This is from last week's race at Talladega in the Truck Series side. Ty Hester and Cody Spiker both receiving level 1 strikes. Neither of those drivers, however, will receive a kind of a setback for today's race, an EOLL or either being suspended. So that's good to see that they'll be out there here tonight running around ISM as we now have a minute 53 left. Let's see if we can bring up the Premier points. If this is the first time joining the American Sim Racing Series, the Premier Series is actually the combined total of the SMS Cup Series and the Sam Maxwell Customs Truck Series put together into one giant points tally, and currently Jared Mogard is atop that leaderboard as well. Will Worsler, got to remember, he's not here tonight. He's currently coming into tonight 5th place in points. He does have a couple of races to jump up. This is not a cutoff race, but that is definitely going to be a fairly big setback for that number 29 machine. Joseph Seville, however, he might be able to benefit from that, see if he can jump over Will Worsler here tonight. But Tim Knott, Jason Stewart, both of those drivers on the outside looking in currently before the drop of the green flag here tonight. And Cameron, these playoff standings, it's one of these things where some of these drivers like it, some of the drivers hate it, but it's definitely everyone playing to the same playing field. And if you're Will Worsler, you kind of got the bad end of the stick tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the good things that does for other drivers, that kind of eliminates one chance or one spot of getting kind of knocked out. See, if you're really Joseph Seville or Kelsey Rogers, that kind of gives you a little bit of leeway going into this race, knowing that that one of those spots that's going to be knocked out is going to be taken by Will Worsler. So both those drivers are going to be kind of having that on their mind as the green flag drops, and it is a little bit more anxious with a cutoff race like this. I can speak from experience with that. You really just have to kind of mind your P's and Q's and make sure that you don't really do anything too stupid to harm yourself. But other than that, it's not going to be too bad, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, but it is a cutoff race for both the Premier Series side and the Cup Series side. So drivers will be eliminated from contention in both championships here tonight. We'll have to wait until the checkered flag has flown after the race to see who will go no further. But checkered flag has been thrown over the qualifying session, and it does look like Brian Yazek has scored the pole. As you can see, the uniquely shaped ISM Raceway from the air. And it'll be interesting to see, Cameron, how long it will be until iRacing implements the new start-finish location around this place, because they've moved it since iRacing last scanned it. It should be pretty interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully they get that Wi-Fi setup that they have in the grandstands now as well. Our Wi-Fi up here in the booth a little bit slow these days, but either way, we're going to go ahead and get your grid situated real quick as soon as these drivers kind of get their cars all up and running and everything. Right there on the pole, you see that pink Ford 55 machine on the inside of the front row. That's 55 Brian Yazek, and to his outside, number 36 of Ty Hester, 2 weeks ago, winner at Talladega. Mitch Brown rolls off in the 3rd position, and Jonathan Holstein to his outside in 4th. Gary Whitson and Tyler Seville make up row number 3, 5th and 6th respectively. L. Bryce Whitson Jr., another one of the Whitson boys, rolls off in 7th, and Tim Knott in 8th. Richard Stallings in 9th, and rounding out the top 10, 77 of Alex Giese.
On row number 6, you'll find the 06 of Jack Wells and Jim Foose in the bright number, not so bright number 42. He's running that retro Jim Foose paint scheme there. And on row number 7, we find the number 6 of Jared Haggerty and the number 26 of Lee Staples. Row number 8, you find a playoff driver, Kelsey Rogers, and alongside him will be the 66 of Edward Bray. Alan Young will roll off from the 17th position, and Jimmy McKee to his outside will be starting 18th. Chris Titus in the 04 will be starting in 19th, and alongside him, Jason Stewart, needing a big night here tonight, and the number 1 will be starting from the 20th position.
Rolling off in 21st, the blackjack position himself, the number 43 of Steve Buhala, going to be rolling off right there at the first car in the row number 10, and Andy Veltman too is outside in 22nd. Jared Mogard rolls off in 23rd. We saw him in qualifying, not able to put a lap time down. Brad Cross rolls off 24th. Sam Maxwell 25th. I believe he is our in-race admin, so will not be taking the start. Troy Haight in the 28 car rolls off 26th. Richard Fletcher 27th, and JR Bash rolls off in 28th. And that concludes your 27 car grid for tonight's event. One car going missing. And Peter, I believe only one pace lap for these guys, correct?
Yeah, only one pace lap, so I'm sure pace car lights are off. Butterflies will be in the stomachs of each and every one of these drivers, as we'll find out which 6 drivers make it through to the next round of the Premier Series playoffs, as well as the 4 drivers who make it through to the Cup Series finale with a shot at winning the SMS Cup Series title. Pace car is off. The field rolling now at around 60 miles an hour as they're waiting for that green flag, and there's the green flag, the bright pink and black HPP Simulations number 55 machine leads us to the green flag and dives off into turn number 1. He will clear the number 36 of Ty Hester. Tester cuts down the racetrack right in front of the number 51 machine, and that would be the Mitch Brown, and right behind him we find the 73 machine of Jonathan Holstein. So Holstein already slotting in here inside the top 5. And your 5th place driver, L. Bryce Whitson, after 1 lap. Definitely a lot of racing a little bit further back in the pack, Cameron.
It was a terrible start for that number 33 of Gary Whitson. He started 5th and kind of lost his momentum out of turn number 2. Almost in contact there. You see there through that dog leg. It's getting very tight. I think a lot of these drivers kind of getting caught out by those cones down there. They have a lot less room than they're used to, but he lost about 5 spots on the initial start there. There was a bit of a stack up, and that number 33 being the big loser out of that. But you see right there, number 77, Alex Easy, right behind him. He's running right about where he started in the, I believe, the 11th position right now. So side by side, right behind the number 6 of Jared Haggerty. That's Bryce Whitson and Gary Whitson and Kelsey Rogers going at it. You see how close they're getting. I'm surprised they're racing this close only on lap number 3, Peter.
Yeah, and there's already been a little bit of damage a little bit further back. Andy Veltman's rear-ended the number 97 machine has been run over. Not quite sure. I think that happened on the start. There he is as he's going to head down the front stretch. Hopefully that isn't hurting him all too much as you ride on board with the 47 of Richard Fletcher. You can see that crumpled back end. So definitely some contact early on, but nothing major, as we do have a battle now brewing for the 2nd position between the number 51. There's a little bit of connection issues there with Mitch Brown, as he's now all of a sudden going to be under fire from the 73 of Jonathan Holstein. Holstein putting together a pretty solid run here in the early going inside the top 5, as is L. Bryce Whitson in the 88. It looks like he is thinking about possibly making a charge up to the front as we go. Look at these brakes, Cameron. They don't use as much brakes here around ISM as they used to. Of course, when it was a little bit flatter and when we didn't have this package with such high downforce, you used to see those brake rotors glowing red.
Yeah, and good thing about iRacing is I don't believe it simulates brake fade, because that really would be a problem if you get those brakes super hot and you start to lose brakes. It looks like Alan Young in the 24 popping the wall a little bit there, a little bit of damage on the right side of that car. It doesn't look too incredibly bad from what I can see here, but definitely did nip it a little bit, but might have just been out of turn number 2. Very easy to do that, just kind of get out a little bit too wide and hit the wall there, but it looks like that car is pretty well fine, running in the 13th position, so he's actually up a few spots from where he started, so definitely moving forward. But Mitch Brown able to hold off that number 73 of Jonathan Holstein. Somebody else in the wall there off of turn number 2 I saw as well. A couple drivers actually. It looks like a track very slick on that end of the speedway.
Well, you know what, Cameron? This racetrack, turn number 2 is actually quite difficult. Ooh, maybe a couple of cars hitting the wall there, including the number 11 of Seville. Either way, he got very close. There's the 00 of Mogart. But what I was going to say is right here, turn number 2, very difficult for drivers to get right. The track opens up so quickly that you really have to anticipate when to get back on the throttle. It's very tricky to do so, and if you get a little bit of aero wash on the front nose, kind of take away the front tires from you, you'll end up in that wall, and we've already seen that happen to a couple of drivers as we look from the flagman's perspective. All these cars going by about 150 miles an hour past that start-finish line, and now you go back to the number 11, Tyler Seville. Looks like he's now under pressure from the 17 of Richard Stallings. Good run for Richard so far.
Yeah, it is. He's doing a pretty good job right now. He's running about 2 spots up from where he started, currently in the 7th position, running behind, I believe that's Tyler Seville and him. So doing a pretty good job right there. You see he's actually running turn 1 a little bit lower than Tyler Seville, and I think that's going to end up, for a lot of these drivers, probably being the preferred groove, because you don't let that car slide out as much. You do end up saving the tires a little bit more than if you let that car slide out all the way to the wall. So I think that's going to be a good long run move right there. There's a 00 of Jared Mogard. He's been able to gain some spots. He started all the way back in 23rd up to the 15th position, battling Jim Foose for 14th now. So it looks like he's going to make that move pretty easily down into turn 1. Just cut the car a little bit tight and try to get the momentum off. But Jim Foose not letting it go easily. He's going to battle him off at turn number 2 and actually keep the position for it now. That Highline is actually pretty good around this racetrack, but I think that 00 is on the move, so it's not going to be long before he gets around that number 42.
Mogard trying something a little bit interesting there. I said this kind of at the top of the show. Turns number 3 and 4, you can actually use the apron sometimes, kind of depending on how the car is driving to help it turn. And we saw Mogard there go below that yellow line just a little bit in 3, trying to get that car around Jim Foose, unable to do so yet. We jump up here to the front. Here's the number 33, Gary Whitson, racing with the number 6 of Jared Haggerty. Haggerty trying to get around that number 33 for now, although Whitson had just passed him on the racetrack, so Haggerty's going to have to see if he can bounce back. Remember, Gary Whitson kind of had a disaster of a start. Started this race in 5th position. Ooh, looked like the number 77, Giese, hitting the wall as we ride on board with Richard Fletcher here, I believe. No, that is not Richard Fletcher. Couldn't quite tell who that was. Two similarly colored. Oh, it's Kelsey Rogers in the 35. The 47 of Fletcher, also a gray machine here today. As the number 17 of Richard Stallings, however, he's going to get around the number 11, so move him up to the 6th position. Stallings gaining 3 positions from the start of the race here in the early going, as we have just under 137 laps to go.
And look at the side of that 77 of Alex Giese. That is quite a bit of damage on that car, so that is going to hurt the handling. You see the right front fender is really kind of crumpled up. There's a lot of damage everywhere. The right side kind of hood flap, whatever that thing is called, it is all buckled in. So Alex Giese is going to have his hands full with that car for the next, until he's able to get it fixed on a pit stop. And Peter, this is, you know, it's just over a mile racetrack, and it's really not that big in the grand scheme of things, but you do carry a lot of speed around here, especially with these 2019 Cup cars. So aerodynamics definitely a key factor. You don't want to bang that car up early on.
Yeah, I've always felt like Phoenix is one of those racetracks where if you get damage, it's just going to exacerbate whatever feeling you're having. If your car is tight, it's just going to make you more tight. And if you're more loose, well, it's going to make you more loose. So that's definitely something that 77 won't want to have on that car as of right now. As we ride on board with Gary Whitson, he's going to try and get under Tim Knott. Remember, Knott is one of those playoff drivers trying to make it to the next round. That number 33 machine showing the pace that he had in qualifying here. Remember, qualified in 5th, like I just said a few minutes ago. And he's going to try on the outside here around Tim Knott. That can be a good move if you kind of pinch him down there and stay in the throttle. They're side by side now through 3 and 4, and I think that number 33 is going to make the move here coming out of turn number 4. Indeed he does. So move Gary Whitson up into 8th. Good move.
Yeah, very good move, and he's actually looking on Tyler Seville for the 7th position as well. Had a very good run there off of turn number 4 and almost was able to make the move, but could not do it. But he's looking inside into turn 3, can't do it right there. There's actually a bit of damage on the front end of that 33. There was a stack up on the start, and he was part of that stack up, so might have been some of his issues there, but it doesn't look like it's affecting him too much now. That car still has a lot of speed in it.
Yeah, definitely a lot of pace in that number 33 machine. We've seen a good amount of pace out of Gary Whitson when we've seen him out there on the racetrack now, as he's going to dive to the inside. Not too many races so far this season in the ASRS Premier Series, but that number 33 is moving his way up once again through the pack. He just got around Seville for the 7th position. He's got a little bit of clean racetrack to get to the back bumper of the number 17. As you can see, the 17 of Stallings pulled away from Seville and is actually kind of closing in on Jonathan Holstein. You're not missing anything up at the front. Yazik's pulled away to about a 2-second lead over Ty Hester, using that clean air on that HPP Simulations Ford Mustang as we go on board with that pink machine. Seeing no brake rotor glowing anymore. You can see that suspension travel. It is a fairly bumpy racetrack, even after they resurfaced it, Cameron. Part of it's, of course, the dogleg on the back stretch. And even when you're at speed in a comfortable race car, you hit that dog leg a little bit wrong, and it can sometimes send you spinning. And I know that's happened to me once or twice, especially with the IndyCar. Of course, the IndyCar runs a little bit lower to the ground, but definitely something to watch out for here tonight. See if anyone has troubles, especially on the long run with the dog.
We have a battle for second here, the 36 of Ty Hester, and it looks like that's Mitch Brown going at it. So Mitch Brown was able to get around Ty Hester, but Ty Hester might have saved his tires a little bit and mounted a charge on that 51. Bryce Whitson also getting into the battle as well. He's gained a couple spots from where he started, from 7th to 4th, so that number 88 showing a lot of speed. It showed a lot of speed at Talladega as well. Those Whitson cars were some of the most dominant cars at the Talladega SuperSpeedway, but were not able to get the job done. They were involved in accidents near the end of the race, and definitely some happenings there, but definitely coming out here tonight, try to get a good run. Bit of a hornet's nest here in the pack. Oh, we have a caution.
Caution is out on the racetrack. Oh, it's the number 97, Andy Veltman, who's gone around in turn number 1. Let's see if he can get that car rolling. See what happened here on the 3-wide TV replay. Oh, wow, the 43 there. And the 97 had it coming together. Not quite sure what happened there between Buhala and Andy Veltman. Let's see if we can see this from another angle here as they head off into the corner. And, man, that 43 looks like he just turned right up the racetrack.
Definitely a really perplexing incident there. One would have to say that looked intentional, and that might be why right there on the screen. Looks like the 97 got into the back of the 43 and pretty much instant karma right there. But I don't think, Peter, I don't want to play judgment or anything, but I don't think that really necessitated a wrecked race car. But I'm not the one driving either, so unfortunately for Andy Veltman, that car is pretty much well and truly used up. So he's probably not going to be too happy about that.
Yeah, that car is completely toast. We talked about him a little bit earlier having some rear end damage. Well, now it's a little bit worse than it was before, and that's putting it lightly. But everyone is now on pit road. Mitch Brown will be happy because he can now see the rear end of that number 55 HPP Simulations Ford Mustang as Yazik is going to hit his pit box. Ooh, Ty Hester looks like he had an issue getting into... Oh, the 55 having problems getting into his pit box. Wow, I thought he was solidly in his pit box, but the pit crew said, no, I won't touch your car. And it looks like the 51 of Mitch Brown is going to get away with the race lead. That is absolutely disastrous for Brian Yazik. Look at all those spots that he lost. And wow, that's going to put him way back in the pack after having a 2-second lead. That is not what you want to have happen on pit road.
Absolutely. From the race lead to looks like about 10th position. So just one little mistake on pit road under caution, and you saw the end result right there. So Brian Yazik going to have his work cut out for him. Actually, we can see if we can get a word with him. I don't see him actually in here, so let's go ahead and get a word with the 51 of Mitch Brown. See, hey, he's always a fun interview. Mitch Brown, this is Cam Rich up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yep.
All right, man. Well, it looks like it's going pretty well for you. You just inherited the lead with a pretty disastrous mistake from the 55. Just kind of tell us how the track's feeling for you tonight and kind of how the race is going.
We're just buying our time for right now. Just trying to feel in and out, seeing which line is the best, and we're just gonna take it lap by lap.
You are pretty good in the point standings. You kind of think about that during the race, or you just kind of out here to try to win like every other race?
Go out there and try to win, or try to get the best finish I can.
All right. Well, definitely doing a good job of that right now. You are not only are you the leader, you are the top of the playoff contenders right now. So definitely doing pretty well on that regard. So we'll let you get back to what you're doing, and good luck the rest of the race.
Thank you.
Well, Cameron, you have to remember Mitch Brown also got that win a couple of weeks, and I think what was it, last week at Talladega? Man, it feels like it's been quite
Vegas,
a long
yes.
time.
Vegas.
It was Vegas, that's right. And he got that win, so that's going to launch him into the next round, regardless of where he finishes here tonight. But definitely, there's no better way to get into the next round than to top this round off with yet another win. But yeah, pace car lights are off here at ISM Raceway. We're going to go back to green flag racing here very shortly. And Cam, anything interesting out there on the racetrack that you saw from that first run? I definitely saw some drivers trying some different lines. So definitely, some different strategies out there on the racetrack.
Yeah, I think the high line in 3 and 4 looks like it's going to be pretty dominant here pretty soon. That's where most of the passes seem to be being made on that end of the racetrack. But we will see green flag out once again. Mitch Brown gets a huge restart on the entire field. He's got about 3 car lengths on Bryce Whitson before they even cross the start-finish line. So that 51 absolutely shot out of a cannon on the restart. So the battle is for third. Behind him, Jonathan Holstein and Richard Stallings going at it side by side through the dog leg. They're right behind that 88 of Bryce Whitson with Gary Whitson right behind them. So kind of in a Whitson sandwich, those 2 cars. But look at that 00, Jared Mogart. He's got himself up into the top 10 right now, battling with Kelsey Rogers for, I believe that's the 6th position. So that 00 is absolutely flying on a charge.
Yeah, one thing to note, that number 97, he's still out there on the racetrack. We'll have to see if anything else comes of that contact with the number 43 machine. Buhala's a couple cars in front of him, and that 97 currently a little bit off the pace. But as we look forward, there is the number 33 machine, Gary Whitson, trying to make that move. As you said, Cameron, not quite able to do so just yet. Currently running in the 5th position. He's got Kelsey Rogers right behind him. Remember, Kelsey started this race in the 15th position. Now he's up into the top 6. Right behind him, though, the 00 of Jared Mogart, who's under fire from Brian Yazik. This is a really good battle on the racetrack for the 7th position between Yazik on the inside there and Mogart on the outside. Looks like Mogart's going to hold on, Cameron, using that high line like you said.
Yeah, he's actually going to do a bit of a crossover into turn number 1, trying to get under that 35 of Kelsey Rogers. He's going to have to be careful there because here comes Brian Yazik back on the outside out of turn number 2. He's got a pretty good run into turn number 3, see if he can make anything happen. No, Jared Mogart's going to dive it in, almost contact with the 35, and I think that might open the door for Brian Yazik. Absolutely, yes, here he comes out of turn number 4. Good run for that 55. He's going to take that position pretty easily and try to go, try to work on the 50 or the 35 now.
Yeah, interesting to see Mogart. He tried to straighten up the entry into turn number 3 as looks at 55 through some sparks coming out of turn number 2. Doesn't look like there's any damage, but Mogart straightened up the entry into turn number 3 to see if he could get that 00 to rotate. Couldn't quite do so. Did a good job of checking up as to not hit the side of that number 35 because that could have ended both of their days if they had made contact. But now Mogart is going to drop back to 8th, at least temporarily. And we'll see if Yazik can continue his march forward for in that number 55 after that disastrous pit stop. There's the number 36, Ty Hester. He also, contact the 17. The 88 in the wall. That's L. Bryce Whitson. And that is a lot of right side damage. That was contact with the 17 of Richard Stallings. This racetrack has a tendency to kind of race like a short track, and we're already starting to see some tempers flare and some contact out there. You can see, I don't know if that 88 knew the 77 was down there, but they definitely had a coming together there. And unfortunately for that 88, he's going to have quite a bit of right side damage.
Yeah, it looked like he just kind of turned in the corner. 17 had a little bit of a nose on him, not really enough to have the position per se, but 88 just kind of, like you said, just not knowing he's there and not going to hurt the 17 at all, but definitely that 88 is pretty well used up now, so he's going to have to get a lot of damage fixed on the next pit stop. But until that happens, he's going to have his hands full. It's a lot of damage on that car.
Yeah, Bryce Whitson has now fallen back into the 10th position in that 88 machine, now under fire from the 26 machine in 11th. The 11 of Tyler Seville now sitting just inside the top 10 in front of him as we now have this battle between Mogart and Yazik. Once again, this time Mogart's going to get the better of Yazik. So move the number 00 up into 6th as we're getting reports that Brian Yazik does have some right front damage. Perhaps that's from when he scraped the wall a couple of laps ago. You saw that on the onboard shot that we had just a brief period ago. And now he's going to fall under fire from the 6 of Haggerty. And Cameron, like we said, you get some damage on the right side of your car. It's going to either make you tighter if you're tight or looser if you're loose. And I think that's what we probably just saw out of that 55 machine. It just doesn't seem like he has the pace anymore as he's now fallen off the back of the 00.
Yeah, he's going to be under fire from the 6 here pretty soon, like you said. So that's going to be falling back to 8th or so. And that's a real big shame because that 55 was by far and away the quickest car here at the start of the race. Had about a 2.5-second lead when the first caution came out, and definitely going to be on the back foot right now. But I think this is a pretty long race. We're only working lap 38 of 150, so he's going to have plenty of time to get that car fixed up and get it competitive again. But he's going to have his hands full until that happens. But Jared Mogard, he's moved his way up to the 6th position, doing a very good job in that 00. Doesn't really have to worry about points too incredibly much here. He is pretty good in the standings, but still, any driver wants to come out here and do the best they can. But here's Jim Foose and Ty Hester battling for the 12th position. Ty Hester falling back from his grid position of the 2nd spot and currently back in the 13th, battling for 12, getting around Jim Foose right there on board. You see that move being made, so he has a lot of ground to make up himself as well. So this race is really back and forth right now, Peter.
Yeah, Jim Foose is one of those drivers on the outside looking in on the Cup Series side of things. So the 88 is around. Off the front end of the 26 machine of Lee Staples. And that was right in front of Jim Foose. Doesn't look like Foose got a piece of it. We'll see what happened here. Getting reports that it's basically the same thing that happened to him earlier, as Lee Staples is just going to show his nose underneath in the 88. Ooh, man, I don't know. That one's a little bit harder to call. But definitely went up the racetrack. Looks like Lee Staples got some of it. Ty Hester got a piece of it. So bad break for the 26 and the 36. We'll see on board here with the 26 machine. He just dived to the inside and they made a little bit of contact and into the wall. That 88 went again. So tough break for him. He was definitely very, very quick in that 88 machine. But we're now working our 2nd caution flag of the night. Yeah,
and Peter, I think that looked like a bit of frustration on Bryce Whitson's part. He knows his car is damaged. He did that before. Of course, that's why he was kind of falling back. But kind of get a car under you, and you just really don't want to accept that your car is not like it was, and it's now a lot worse than it was before that as well. So. Bit of frustration on his part, and unfortunately a couple other drivers who had nothing to do with it getting involved as well.
Looks like Jonathan Holstein possibly slid through his pit box a little bit. Can say that Jim Foose got a little bit of left front damage from contact with one of the other drivers trying to avoid that accident. So we'll see how that plays out for Foose. He's sitting on pit road right now getting damage repaired, but it does look like your winner of the pit road battle will be Mitch Brown once again, followed by Gary Whitson, Richard Stallings, and Kelsey Rogers. Jared Mogard looks like he's going to move up just a little bit in that 00 machine. The big loser on this round was Jonathan Holstein, like we mentioned, slid through his pit box just a little bit in that 73 machine. He's going to lose probably about 4 positions here once it is all said and done. Let's see if we possibly can dial up one of these drivers. Cameron, anyone that you're seeing that we can possibly bring in? Possibly Lee Staples in the number 26 machine, perhaps?
That sounds pretty good with me, and we'll go ahead and bring him up here. And
sometimes it takes a little bit. Sometimes you have to do it the slow way. Hey, Lee Staples. Peter Short here in the 3-wide TV booth. You got a copy?
Got you, Peter.
Well, Lee, that accident right there looks like you kind of just showed your nose to that number 88 machine, and there was a little bit of a coming together. Don't really think it was anyone's fault. It was kind of a racing deal. But hey, you know what? How's that number 26 machine driving, and how much damage did you get?
We'll see how bad the damage is, Peter. I got a little bit, got it fixed. That's the reason I'm at the back of the pack right now. But it's okay. As long as you don't overdrive it, it's good for a long run. So that's the temptation, is to drive it too hard. So take it easy and it'll be fine.
Well, hopefully you can get a long run in, and hopefully that damage doesn't hurt you too bad. But caution lights are off here, so we'll let you get back to it, bud, and best of luck here.
Thank you, Peter. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, that is driver of the number 26 machine, Lee Staples. And definitely going to be a little bit of an uphill battle for that number 26 machine here. But we'll keep an eye on him as we are approaching the 1/3 race distance. Just now completing our 2nd caution flag of the night. We're going to get set to go back to green flag racing here in just about a quarter of a lap as they slowly work their way through turn number 3 and 4. And Cameron, it's been a pretty good race. There's only been one caution flag, but right now, the number 1 machine of Jason Stewart has actually stayed out on the racetrack, and he is your race leader as he dives off into turn number 1. Remember, he's one of those playoff drivers. He hasn't had the best of nights so far, but he's going to see what he can do on old tires. But it looks like the 33 of Gary Whitson is going to use those 4 fresh tires to his advantage and take the race lead as he heads off into turn number 3.
Yeah, really, all he has to do is kind of just let the, he knows his tires are disadvantaged. You see the cars all around him just kind of flying past him. Not much he can do at this point, so he's just kind of got to let the tires kind of equalize themselves out, and he's going to be hurting here for a couple laps. With about 10 laps in, he's probably going to be a little bit better off, but see, he's already back to the 8th position and currently fallen back even more. So, getting the lap lead was pretty good on his part, though, so I can't really fault that strategy too much.
Better to get a lap lead early if you're going to do it the way he is than later on in the race where you could shoot yourself in the foot. So he does get a bonus point for leading a lap, but look at this battle side by side. Jared Haggerty and Richard Stallings. Haggerty in the 6th machine going down there below the yellow line briefly. Works his way back up onto the racetrack, and really, Haggerty has so far had a really good race, kept that number 6 machine inside the top 10 all night long, but not yet able to get around Stallings as they head down the front stretch off into turn number 1. That number 6, like I said, just kind of a solid night so far, minding his P's and Q's. Don't think there's a scratch on that race car. I noticed that earlier in the past few runs. I guess he's got a little bit of right side damage, but not as much as some of the cars around him. So Haggerty so far putting together a good run, now getting around Richard Stallings to move him up into the 6th position, just outside of the top 5. You will find the 55 of Yazik in the 5th position. We'll have to keep an eye on that comeback story, but 00, Jared Mogard, Cameron. Mogard's already moved his way up into 4th from starting from 23rd.
Yeah, that car might be number 0 or 00, but never count him out. He is always going to be there at the end of any race, no matter what. Doesn't matter how bad his day is looking. Jared Mogard will be there at the end if the car is has a semblance of 4 tires and an engine still on it. So never count him out. Here's a battle here between Tyler Seville and Jonathan Holstein for the 9th position. Right there at the tail end of the top 10.
Cameron, sorry to interrupt, but JR Bash in the number 4 machine just had a whale of a moment coming out of turn number 2. Got on the apron just a little bit. We'll see if we can see this one on the replay. Really good save by that driver in the number 4. Here he is going through turn number 1 and 2. Hit that apron right there. Big wiggle out of the rear end of that number 4 machine, but was able to get it woed up and keep it going straight. Good save by JR Bash, currently running in the 25th position. There's the number 1 machine of the number 1 of Jason Stewart. He has slid all the way back to the 20th position, working now around the 26th of Lee Staples. So definitely not exactly what Jason Stewart wanted, but like you said, Cameron, hopefully those tires equalize here pretty darn quickly as we now have a battle for the race lead and for 2nd position. But it looks like the 51 of Mitch Brown sniffing that race lead from Gary Whitson, but he's going to open the door for Kelsey Rogers here. Kelsey going to go to the inside through turn number 1 and 2. Trying to find that bite down there on the yellow line. Unable to do so just yet. Still side by side down the backstretch. These two drivers definitely have had a lot of laps between. Ooh, man, the 51 almost ran into the back of the 33 there, but now here comes Mitch Brown around the high side of Gary Whitson down the front stretch. And Cameron, you kind of called it just a little while ago. There's contact there in turn number 1 and 2. They're racing like it's the last lap up at the front. And look at the 55, Brian Yazik. It's a 5-car battle for the race lead.
And don't count out the number 6 of Jared Haggerty right there at the end of this tail. He's kind of gotten himself up there, as well as Richard Stallings at the 17. We know both of those cars are fast. So really right now, Peter, it looks like this race is pretty wide open, especially with that 55 getting in the wall a little bit. Looks like that car has a little bit of its pace back up here in the top 5, battling for possibly more. But definitely, it looks like anyone can win this race at this point.
And you're looking out back now, out to back of Gary Whitson in the 33 machine, and he has that number 51 of Mitch Brown tucked up right behind him. You just see all Toyota Camry out that back camera. See a little bit of the 00 Jared Mogard he's sniffing, as now things have calmed down just slightly. They've kind of gone single file for about the first 15 or so race cars out there, but here comes the 51 Mitch Brown, using that high line to his advantage once again, trying to get his way back to the front, getting a little bit of clean air on the nose of that number 51. That's what he wants. Now through turns number 1 and 2, he just hasn't been able to get the run he has needed. But I think this time, Cameron, if he can hold him down tight in 3 and 4, I think the 51 will get the race lead here.
And this is really great stuff here. You see Mitch Brown right there. Like you said, he's going to get the good run off at turn number 4 right here, using outside the line to his advantage, and takes the lead pretty easily. And but trouble! A contact from behind. The number 33 got into the back of Mitch Brown. He's not going to lose control of the car, but I don't think that's going to make him too incredibly happy. He pretty much just got moved out of the way right there. So now going to be under fire from the second position from both Mogard and Kelsey Rogers. We'll see what happened here on the replay. Just in a turn number 1, Mitch Brown cleared the 33, and it looked like there might have been some different braking points there, but the 51 just got a little bit sideways there, punted straight out of the way. But the good news is he does not have a wrecked race car and no damage whatsoever. Just a little bit of hurt feelings going to be the worst thing for him.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen here in the chat, give a round of applause to that number 51 machine. That was an absolute fantastic save that Mitch Brown just did to keep that number 51 going straight and not up into the wall, as Kazoos are now out in fine fashion. Mitch Brown does have a little bit of rear end damage from that. Gary Woodson possibly a little bit more front end damage because he's already had a little bit earlier on in the race, but now we'll see if that rear end damage affects that 51 or not, as he's being hounded closely by the 35 of Kelsey Rogers, who also has the 00 Jared Mogard. And Cameron, I don't know if you saw it, but that 35 and the 00, when they saw that contact in front of them, they both checked way up as to not make many matters worse up ahead of them. They did a good job of some heads-up driving, and everyone stays clean and green, at least for now, as we have eclipsed the 1/3 distance here at ISM Raceway. So you're right on board with the number 6 of Jared Haggerty. You see maybe just a little bit of right side damage on that 6 machine, but so far looking pretty darn clean, as he's possibly a little bit of contact there between Mogard and Kelsey Rogers in turn number 1 and 2. Mogard checked up, and Mogard's going to lose a position to the 55 of Yazik here.
Yeah, we'll see what happened here on the replay. You see Jared Mogard right there behind Kelsey Rogers, and Louis drives in deep into turn number 1, has to get out of the gas to not hit the 35, and loses the spot to the 55 of Brian Yazik. He's got himself back up in the 4th position after that initial damage, but actually Kelsey Rogers under fire from Yazik as well, so he's looking for 3rd here into turn number 3, and I think he might take it. He's going to drive it into turn number 3 very deep there, try to get the power back down, but I don't think that 35 right there on the outside, you just can't get the power down. He's going to hold on for another spot. Might be under fire from Mogard here as well, so this is pretty good racing here, and this just kind of shows how these lines work at this racetrack. You can drive it on the inside line, but that doesn't mean anything. You might that car on the outside line is usually going to have the advantage off the corner.
Well, all this side-by-side battling is allowing 51 of Mitch Brown and the 33 of Whitson, just allows them to stretch out just a little bit up there at the front, as we now go on board with the 00 of Mogard. Sees that bright pink number 55 out his front end. Oh, look at the coup enters stage left there. That's Jared Haggerty. A little bit of argy-bargy there. And Jared Haggerty looks like he's going to try and take that position away from Mogard. And Cameron, I'm just amazed at these drivers getting their fists up and really coming out to play rough here at ISM.
Yeah, like you said, Peter, this is a speedway, or a intermediate speedway. Caution on the racetrack.
Oh, Ty Hester in the 36 machine's gone around on the front straight, and that is not what that number 36 wanted to see. That thing now a modified. See what happened here on the 3-wide TV replay. Coming out of turn number 4, hit that outside wall, shot him down into the inside wall, and that was all she wrote. That suspension toast on the 36, and that is not what Ty Hester wanted to see here tonight. And that Can-Am Toyota, you can see on board with him right now, he's having to turn that wheel quite a bit to keep that machine going straight. You see it kind of wobble down the front stretch here as he's going to limp it around, see if he can get back to pit road once the field all gets caught up. But definitely a tough break for that number 36 machine. I don't really expect to see him back out on the racetrack with all that type of damage, but only time will tell. But that will give us another pit stop. We'll see if Gary Whitson can keep the lead in that number 33 machine. We've seen some drivers struggle on pit road here today, Cameron, and I wonder if that is due to the amount of rear brake bias these drivers are running. This racetrack usually lends itself to running a lot of rear brake bias because you carry so much speed into the corner. I wonder if that's been tripping up these drivers on pit road.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that myself. It seems like getting into the pit boxes is pretty tough, and that could be a reason when you do have a lot of rear brake. When you get on the pedal, the rear tires tend to lock up, and then that's gonna make you kind of shoot your pit stall. Right there at the 73 of Jonathan Holstein just did it. He had to back up about 2 feet and get his pit stop there, so it definitely does look like something to deal with tonight. Off the pit road, 33 of Gary Whitson, excuse me. It looks like he's going to win the battle between Mitch Brown and Kelsey Rogers off third, and then the rest of the field there. So, rear brake is great on the racetrack, but in pit road, it can be a bit of a challenge.
One driver who was very, very lucky to see this caution flag, that is driver of the number 1 machine, Jason Stewart. And Jason had slid all the way back to the 23rd position, and over the last 5 laps or so, he wasn't that much slower than your top 5. Like you said, Cameron, those tires had kind of equilibrated, but he was already about 3/4 of a lap down in that number 1 machine. So definitely Jason Stewart getting 4 fresh tires. He'll be excited to have those on his car so he can actually pass cars rather than be passed. Definitely what he's looking for. He needs a good run here tonight. Let's see if we can dial up one more driver, Cameron. Let's see who we can bring up here. What about, let's talk to the 73 of Jonathan Holstein. We've seen him with some struggles on pit road here tonight. See if we can find out exactly what the issue is. Jonathan Holstein, Peter Short here in the 3Y TV booth. We've seen you have a couple of issues on pit road here tonight in that number 73 machine. You had a lot of pace in qualifying. Cameron, Rich, and I have been theorizing that maybe it's a little bit too much rear brake. What is the issue for sliding through your pit box?
Well, first time I stopped short, so I made sure I didn't stop short that time. Then I kind of went too long. I've had trouble with it all year. I don't know. I practice it, but still can't hit it. I'll have to work on that.
Well, you definitely have a good amount of speed in that number 73 here tonight. Good in practice and qualifying. Have you been able to play around with the brake bias here tonight and hopefully see if it is going to help the car turn? And also just how much brake are you using? Of course, this is a racetrack where you used to use a lot of brake, but now with the new package, how much brake are you using?
Yeah, I've been messing with the brake bias. I'm using more brake later in the run, but I'm turning the brake bias way down. So, yep, definitely brake bias and braking, but we're going green. Thank you, though.
Yep. We'll let you get back to it. And Jonathan Holstein in the 73 machine going back to the action here as Cameron, take it away.
Side by side for the green flag, and it is out pretty early. Good start for the 33 of Gary Whitson, and he's going to gap the field by about 5 car lengths in the turn number 1 battle for second. Mitch Brown and Brian Yazik going at it. Looks like Yazik's going to win that battle, so move that 55 up to second place. Mitch Brown and Jared Mogard going at it right now for the 3rd position. Looks like the 51 has a bit of damage on that right front. If you see that there, Peter, that right front fender is not totally straight, so maybe that early pace that we saw from him, kind of in the same boat as the 55 of Yazik, might be a little bit damage on the car, slowing him down.
Yeah, possibly so, but we'll have to see if he can overcome that. Remember, he's got that rear end damage from that contact, so we'll have to see what Mitch Brown can do. Currently sitting in the 3rd position, but they're side by side right behind him between Mogard and Haggerty. this battle has been going on now for about the last 10 laps. Remember, that number 6 machine kind of dived off into turn number 1. I don't know if the 00 was all too happy with that. But now, Haggerty is still ahead, but Mogard is going to dive back down to the inside here on the backstretch. And if he can find the grip through 3 and 4, he'll be able to get around him. But really, Mogard's been struggling for grip in turn number 3 and 4, especially through the center of the corner, because he flattens out the entry into that corner. We have a caution on the racetrack. Jim Foose. Oh, championship implications right here. The 42 of Jim Foose. He's one of your playoff bubble drivers here tonight. And that number 42 is now a modified as, net code there between the 26 and the 42. And that is not what you want to have happen, Cameron. Net code is a gremlin of online racing. And sometimes it works for you, but most of the time, it works against you, and we saw that right there.
Yeah, that's championship implications for both Jim Foose and Tyler Seville in the 11. He was involved in that as well, and a bit of damage on that front end, but it looks like Jim Foose definitely the worst of those. Like you said, no hood, and looks like a modified, and I don't think the modifieds have raced at this racetrack ever, and don't want to see them tonight, but definitely see it happening in turn number 3. Just a bit of contact there. Might have been net code, might not have been. I couldn't see from that angle, but definitely in the 42 getting pitched around and very hard hit for him. So that's definitely going to be a maybe not a day ender, but a competitive car ender right there.
And I'm not exactly 100% sure where Jim Foose lost his hood. I'm going back and finding out that Jim Foose had a coming together with Tyler Seville in the number 11 machine, and we stayed green flag racing on lap number 66. In turns number 1 and 2, Seville had a big incident there, a big slide. Looks like possibly a little bit of contact with Ed Bray, and Jim Foose had nowhere to go and ran into the back bumper of that number 11 machine, lost his hood. And so that's why we saw the 42 with no hood, but now he has a little bit less on the front end of that number 42 machine as he comes down and hits his pit box once more. Definitely tough break for those two drivers. They're definitely going to stick it out, Cameron, see if they can get as many points as possible. But that is definitely going to have a big thorn in their side as they try and make it into the next round of both the SMS Cup Series playoffs as well as the SMC, Sam Maxwell Customs Premier Series. Here's the replay on lap number 66. And riding on board with Jim Foose here in the number 42. Watch about 3 cars in front of him, 3 or 4 cars in front of him. It's the 66 of Ed Bray and the number 11. And here you can see a little bit of contact. The 11 gets completely sideways. Jim Foose trying to find a way around it. And really, he was kind of darned if he didn't go high or go low. And he tried both, and it just didn't quite pan out for him. That's kind of like when you're walking against the grain at Walmart and you're about to run into someone, so you jump out and you run into them. So possibly a little bit of net code there as well between the 11 and the 66. So net code definitely not on the side of Jim Foose. And ladies and gentlemen, Jim Foose, league owner and organizer here, he's saying that he's going to jump out of the Premier Series at the end of the season. That's why he has the final countdown on the back, and also why he's running a throwback on that number 42 machine. It was his dad's, or is his dad's favorite car, the yellow, black, and red machine, and definitely not going to have the night he was hoping to have here. As pace car lights still on, we'll see if they turn off this time by. Indeed they do. But the number 42 of Jim Foose is still sitting in his pit box, getting as much damage repaired as possible there. As you can see that camera flash on by. But Cameron, we see the number 33 up front here. Brian Yazik started on the pole, led about the first 25 laps or so, but then dropped back in the field. Now he's back there on the front row. Do you think he will have anything for that 33 on this restart?
I absolutely do, Peter, and I'm actually wondering about that 51 behind the 33 with that contact we saw a few laps ago, if he's going to remember that and maybe give him a nudge somewhere on the racetrack. Not necessarily to wreck him, but just to kind of let him know that he didn't appreciate being kind of rooted out of the way, but that all remains to be seen. He's going to be starting right behind Gary Whitson on the restart. Pace car is off, so we're going to see what's going to happen here in just a moment. Green flag out for the 33. Good restart. Good restart for the 55 as well. He's only about a car length behind into turn number 1. And the battle is for third place. Jared Haggerty and Mitch Brown going at it. Now Mitch Brown also under fire from the other Jared. Jared Mogard, a bit of contact there in turn number 2 with Haggerty and Brown. Brown's going to come out of that the victor of that little battle, but a battle for the lead as well. Brian Yazik and Gary Whitson. The answer to your question right there, Peter. Will Brian Yazik have the speed to get back to the lead? And right now he does, but Gary Whitson is not giving up out of turn number 4. Keeping that car low, pinned to that yellow line, trying to make something happen into turn number 1, but I think the advantage will be that 55 off of turn number 2. We've seen that line be the dominant one all day long and get the lead back to Yaznik.
One driver we haven't really talked about here tonight, but so far having a very solid run is the 24 of Alan Young, just in the 7th position. Right behind him also Troy Haight and the 28. Those two drivers put together a good run here. In fact, the number 24 of Alan Young underneath the 17 of Richard Stallings. That will be a battle for the 6th position as he works his way out of turn number 4. He's going to see if he can not only get around that number 17, see if he can close in on the number 6 of Jared Haggerty, but Stallings is being a little bit difficult keeping that number 17 right up alongside. Mogard got really loose coming out of turn number 4. Don't think he smacked the wall, but that is going to back him all the way up to the front bumper of the number 17 of Richard Stallings as that battle between Stallings and Alan Young dies out. For now, Brad Cross, another driver who's worked his way up into the top 10, as has Ed Bray. So a couple of drivers on the back half of the top 10. All of a sudden, new names inside the top 10 as we have now gotten past the halfway mark. Cameron, halfway mark in these races, it's always time to start turning up the wick.
Yeah, and I think that is absolutely the case for both the 33 and 51 up here at the front. Those two are going at it pretty hard right now. We have seen contact from them, but I think that 51 is going to want to get around that 33 fair and square and drive off in the distance. That is the biggest way to tell somebody that you don't appreciate what they did to you, but definitely looks like that 51 is a little bit quicker than the 33 right now. Just needs to find a way around him, and that's not easy around this track because Gary Whitson is running right where Mitch Brown needs to be, and with all these aero bits on these cars for 2019, it's just dirty air is such a problem at any racetrack, so Mitch Brown having a tough time out there.
One driver out there working his way back up through the field, the one of Jason Stewart. Remember, Stewart was all the way back in 23rd positions a couple of cautions ago after he did a no tire pit stop experiment. And Jason Stewart working his way now up into the top 15. But we do have driver of the number 42 machine, Jim Foose, in the infield care center. Let's see if we can the booth with us as I jumped myself out of the booth. Jim Foose, Peter Short here in the 3-wide TV booth, and definitely not the way your night wanted to end here. Looks like a little bit of net code got you, but tell us how the racing was from your perspective. Definitely a lot of drivers racing with their elbows up tonight.
Yeah, I don't think only the elbows up. I think their heads are up, their rear ends, the way these guys have been racing out here tonight, running into each other, not having any respect for us that are racing for the championship. And we poured a whole season into this and really done a great job of putting that together and made it this far. But,
that's some good racing.
Unfortunately, that's the way it goes.
Yeah, definitely not what you want to have happen is Jason Stewart has gone around on the racetrack, a little bit of bumper tack there with the number 73 of Jonathan Holstein. Just as I was saying, Jason was working his way up through the pack. He's going to have a little bit of a setback here. But Jim, that number 42, you've had a great season. You've put some good runs together and in the Menards machine. And, you got a couple more races left here in the Premier Series side of things to see if you can go out there and get yet another win here in the ASRS Series. What race can you now circle that's coming up on the schedule that you want to win?
As far as the races, I really don't know. They're over there signaling for me to get back in the car. We're going to give it a few more minutes of working on it and probably try to get back out. But, I don't know. we got IRP next week, and then Homestead with the Cup Series, IRP with the trucks, and then we come back here with the trucks, which is usually a pretty good race, and then Homestead with the trucks to end it. So really not any of them that really stick out, but we're just going to try to get what we can. We're still in the battle in the truck deal, and hopefully still got something in the Premier Series. I think we're gonna fall down pretty hard here tonight after this one, but just try to salvage what we can out of this, and sit back and pray for a big wreck with all of our competitors that brings them back to us, I guess.
All right, Jim. Well, best of luck out there, and hopefully you can get that 42 back on track tonight.
We're definitely going to try. I just want to say hey to my dad. He designed the car, and yeah, just really cool car. Grew up with this car in just about every race that we had on the Matchbox track. So that's a pretty cool car, so I'm pretty happy with it, but just unfortunate that it ended this way. Got one more Cup race for us before we're done with the Cup Series as a driver and moving on to with you guys next year. So try to get back out there and get as many laps as we can here tonight and salvage what we can out of this. Just really disappointed and just can't believe that people are racing that way. I hope when those guys have to battle for a championship or get that opportunity, I just hope that they get raced the same way that they raced me tonight. So maybe it'll be me given the redemption one of these days. I don't know.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is driver the number 42 machine, Jim Foos. You can definitely hear the disappointment in his voice, but we do have some happenings to fill you in on out there on the racetrack, and one of those, Cameron, is driver the number 35 machine, Kelsey Rogers. 2 tires under this pit stop. That has pole vaulted him up to the front, and the 51 of Mitch Brown actually was able to pole vault his way past Brian Yazik, as Gary Whitson now has slid back into the 5th position. So some interesting happenings here, Cameron. Do you think that 2-tire strategy will work on the 35?
It's very interesting at this stage in the race. 90 laps, about 60 to go, and I think that's about as late as you probably want to try something like that in case it doesn't work, so you have enough time to kind of make your way back up to where you need to be. But about 12 laps on those left side tires, I'm actually kind of curious as to how it's going to work myself. I think it definitely won't be as bad as no tires, but I think the 51 of Mitch Brown being there on 4 as well as Brian Yazik behind him, I think they are going to swallow him up on the restart. But I think the 2 tires will work pretty fine.
Well, only time will tell to see if that 55 of Brian Yazik can jump his way back to the race lead. We saw Yazik was absolutely aggressive under that last restart and was able to get around the 33 of Gary Whitson, who now finds himself back in the 5th position. Got to update you on Jason Stewart. He was the driver who went around and had this caution brought out for that spin. He is currently in the 22nd position. Jonathan Holstein in the 73 who made that contact. He will restart in the 21st position. The pace car lights are off. Cameron, take it away.
Yeah, getting ready to go green, of course. Like we said, Kelsey Rogers, your leader, currently on 2 tires. Pace car pulls off, and the 35 is on the loud pedal. Green flag out here at Phoenix. 35 gets a very good jump into turn number 1. Battle for second, Brian Yazik and Mitch Brown. Yazik's going to take it pretty easily there on the inside line. Now Mitch Brown slots into 3rd. And Gary Whitson at 33 into the 4th position. But I think those 2 tires are working pretty well right now, Peter. Looks like that 35 has quite a bit of grip through turns 3 and 4. But at number 55, we know he's fast and he's got 4 tires.
My first ever sim racing Cup Series victory happened here at ISM Raceway. Back in the day, in the NR 2003 days, and the AMRL, American Muscle Racing League Cup Series, and I took 2 tires I took 2 tires to get that win. I held off a hard-charging Justin Brooks and Justin Fuller to get that win, I do believe. And Justin Brooks was not too happy because he dominated that race, and this kind of stole it away from him with a 2-tire call. We'll see if that 2-tire call works for the 35, but caution is out on the racetrack, Cameron. You called it, and it's the 43 of Steve Buhala. All right, gents. Who wants to say if this was the 97 who had something to say about this? Let's see what happened here on the replay. Oh, no. Actually, no. It's the 43 and Jonathan Holstein in the 73 coming together. I thought it might have been the 97. Those two getting together a little bit earlier in the race, but looked like that number 43 it broke loose on him there, right in front of the 73 of Jonathan Holstein, riding on board with that number 73 here on the replay. You see 43 got loose and There's that contact, and possibly, Cameron, there might have been a little bit of net code there, kind of in the center of the corner that might have upset the 43 machine that kind of led to that accident. Might see if we can get a little bit different angle. No, unfortunately we're not able to, but net code is definitely something that is rearing its head here today. Not exactly what these drivers want to see, but this is what Kelsey Rogers wanted to see, because it's going to put a heat cycle on everyone else's tires and probably equilibrate them just a little bit more. So Kelsey Rogers is your race leader here as we get now close to about 50 laps to go.
Yeah, I think the call was pretty good, but let's ask him how he feels about it. We'll go ahead and see if we can get a quick word with him under caution. Kelsey Rogers, Cam Rich up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, man. Well, 2 tires on that last pit stop. Kind of questioned the call a little bit. Well, not really, but we were kind of wondering about it. How's it working out for you?
Yeah, it keeps it loose. I didn't know what to expect, but I needed some track position, so it's what we went with, and seems to be working out so far. We'll probably get back here on the same cycle pretty soon.
We got a bit of connection issues with our interview driver. See if that hopefully fixes itself before he comes back. Looks like all right, you're back for a moment, but it's good to know that we've been seeing a lot of drivers on pit road kind of overshoot their pit stalls and all that. A couple of drivers doing it multiple times. Is the pit stalls like pretty tough here? Are you having trouble with the brake bias or whatever?
No, I think it's just mainly a problem of vision, if anything, and maybe people being a little too antsy. It's a shorter pit stall too, so people might be having trouble with that.
All right, Kessler. Well, we appreciate you talking to us very much, and definitely good luck the rest of the race. Coming down to 50 laps to go, so hopefully those tires hold on for you.
Yep, thanks, guys.
All right, well, interesting to hear that, Peter. He says the car is a little bit looser with 2 tires, and well, that is something that is on iRacing something that is pretty prevalent, but looked like the cars were a little bit loose out there tonight already, so maybe he wants it a little bit looser than everybody.
Yeah, I mean, if these cars are a little bit tight, sometimes taking that 2 tire will loosen up the race car, like he said, and it can actually help the car drive. It might not have the same amount of overall grip that 4 tires does, but your handling might just be a little bit more favorable. So that kind of balances itself out to an extent, and that is going through the minds of that number 35 machine. But here, he's going to have the 55 of Brian Yazik to his outside, and the past 2 green flags, Brian Yazik has done a fantastic job of picking up spots. 2 restarts ago, he got around the 33 of Gary Whitson for the race lead. Last time, he got around the 51 of Mitch Brown for second, so we'll have to see if he can keep that streak alive and see if he can get around the 35 of Kelsey Rogers here once we go back to green now in half a lap. Jason Stewart in the number 1 machine. He is currently in 21st, trying to recover. Lee Staples, he's been involved in some scuffles here today. He's in 16th place. Jimmy McKee just outside the top 10, running 11th. Brad Cross inside the top 10. Troy Hay, 9th. Just naming out a few drivers to keep your eye on as this race progresses, but the green flag is about to be waved, and there is the green flag, and look at that number 35, Kelsey Rogers. Fantastic restart here once again on the loud pedal early, but Brian Yazik digging his way through turn number 1 and 2. Good run coming out of turn 2, and Yazik is trying to get that race lead. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to make a move just yet. You can see he's antsy. He's a little bit later on the brakes than that number 35 machine, and Yazik trying to get back to where he started this race in P1. But the battle currently is a little bit further back between Richard Stallings and Alan Young. That's the first side-by-side battle on the racetrack. We got this side-by-side battle with the 41 of Tim Knott and the 06 of Jack Wells. Wells to the outside of the number 41. He's going to have a good run through turn number 3 and 4, and there's Stallings and Alan Young still side-by-side.
In a battle for third, Gary Whitson, and it was Mitch Brown, but now Matt Haggerty has gotten himself into it, so it's become a battle for fourth. Mitch Brown and Gary Whitson kind of being they've been thorns in each other's side all day. It looks like, or it seems like those two cars have been next to each other. But now the battle for Jared Mogard and Gary Whitson once again. Mogard drives in and actually contact with the 33, moves him up the racetrack, and Gary Whitson now under fire from Jared Haggerty. So number 33 falling back and almost in contact from behind of the 24 of Alan Young. So in the span of about a lap and a half, Peter, it's all gone so wrong for the 33.
Yeah, Mogard really dives it in. We've seen him do that a couple times here today. Usually we've seen him check it up down there and blow up to avoid any contact with the car on the outside, but that time Mogard got into the left front of that number 33 and kind of pushed him up the racetrack a little bit, so that's why Whitson now has slid back into the 6th position, but I'm sure we'll see that number 33 working his way back up into the top 5, which is where he's been all race long. Oh, battle for the race lead. The 55 of Yasek's going for the lead underneath the 35 of Kelsey Rogers. Tried to make it work, but unable to do so just yet. Ooh, was that the number 6 machine in the outside wall there a little bit further back? The 33 of Whitson is underneath him, but look at the 55 of Yazek underneath Kelsey Rogers once again for the race lead as they go through the dogleg there on the back stretch. And I think Yazek, if he can roll through the center of 3 and 4, good. I think he will take the race lead. He was able to do it and stay pretty much side by side with the 35, but you can just see the 35 has all that momentum as we have a caution on the racetrack once again. Oh, it's the one of Jason Stewart, championship implications, as the number 06 spins down in front of the 11 machine, and Jason Stewart in that number 1 was going for the Premier Series title. Has contact with the 73 Holstein there, it looks like. See if we can rewind that just a little bit more, see if we can get a better view, Cameron. But definitely kind of an interesting accident here.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. It looks like the one of Jason Stewart. Something happened to that car off of turn number 4. See, coming through. Ooh, contact from behind from Holstein. Looks like they got that car out of shape. And I don't know, Peter. It looks like a bit more netcode. That car did some things I did not expect it to do after that initial contact. So I think the netcode here tonight is absolutely playing into this race. Unfortunately, for a cutoff race, that's definitely not what you want to see. But right there, you kind of saw the one get loose, but there was some secondary contact right there, and that looked like a bit of netcode right there, and you saw the 06 of Jack Wells involved, and Jim Foose almost involved as well, so him being back on the racetrack right now, 18 laps down, probably not what he wanted to see right in his windshield once again.
And Tyler Seville in the number 11 machine, remember, he is one of the Premier Series playoff drivers as well. So he's wanting to have a good night. He's got a lot of damage on that number 11 machine, but good news for him is Jim Foose has had a rough night. Will Worsler didn't even show up to race this race. So those are 2 drivers that Seville might be able to kind of leapfrog if he's lucky, or at least stay ahead of, to stay inside the top 6, because the top 6 drivers will go on to the penultimate round of the Premier Series playoffs, as we'll see who wins this race off pit road. Looks like it will be the 35 of Kelsey Rogers will beat Brian Yazek off pit road, then Mitch Brown, and then Jared Haggerty right behind him. Haggerty's had a fantastic night on pit road. All night long, that number 6 machine seems like he's been able to gain a few spots, and Mogard in the 00, however, it looks like he tends to lose a spot on pit road. It seems like he's more often lost a spot than gained a spot on pit road. There's the number 42 modified of Jim Foose, still out there logging laps, and that's good news for that number 42 machine. However, he is currently sitting 18 laps down, and it's going to need a couple of retirements here pretty darn soon, as we now close in on 40 laps to go around ISM Raceway. It's a 1-mile racetrack, kind of odd shaped. How would you describe this shape, Cameron? A triangle, an ovulated triangle? I mean, exactly how would you, as my producer says, I can't say ovulating, but it's kind of an odd shape.
I've always said it reminds me if you blindfolded somebody and told them to draw Richmond, what it would kind of look like. So we know from the real life side of things, at least when the track was flatter, a lot of the drivers who would do good at Richmond would also be successful at Phoenix, and they would use the same cars. I don't believe that's the case anymore. Now this a little bit more. It's really actually more like Rockingham than anything else now, if you think about it, with the banking and all of that. So it definitely is a oddball track on the schedule. This side of Alan Kawicki's first Cup win. A lot of historic moments here, and I gotta say, I'm not a fan of the new changes. I was a fan of the track back when it was a little bit flatter. Just it reminds me of what Phoenix kind of was the entire time I was growing up, and what I like to drive myself.
I tend to agree with you with that statement. I liked the flat Phoenix. It was something different, something unique. I liked the flat Homestead Miami as well. A lot of people would say, what? But I did. It was a flat racetrack. It was something different. I wasn't a big fan of Las Vegas when it was flat. I kind of like it banked. But, personal preferences here and there. But nonetheless, pace car lights are off when you get set to go back to green flag racing. Remember, Kelsey Rogers is back on sequence with everyone else, and he used that 2-tire stop to get back on sequence as the race leader, as that Mustang pace car is on pit road, and the 35 Kelsey Rogers already underway. Once again, another fantastic restart here tonight. Yazik's going to securely be in the second position, but the battle now for the third position is between the 6 and the 51. Looks like Mitch Brown's going to take that, as now Haggerty under fire from the 00 of Mogard. Mogard's going to slide his way into fourth position. Ooh, a little bit of a checkup up at the front as we look out back at the number 35 of Kelsey Rogers, your race leader. And it did look like he kind of stacked up the field just a little bit, and Yazik closed right in on him as the 6 of Haggerty back underneath the 00 of Mogard, looking a little bit further back. The 17, oh, we have another caution on the racetrack. Looks like a car might be around out of 4. Looks like Alex Giese is slow.
Jason Stewart involved as well.
Yeah, it looked like the one machine, oh, he's coming back out into the racetrack there. Didn't want to go below those cones. See what happened here on the replay. Well, I'm not quite sure exactly what happened there. There's a little bit of I had a little bit of an issue there on my end with the replay, but let's see what we can see here. Okay, so the 77 above the 97. Oh gosh, Cameron, that's just netcode again.
Yeah, the netcode tonight proving extremely awful. And what happened to the one? He looked like that was a bit of a secondary accident from something after the 77 getting in the wall. We'll go on board with him real quick here through 1 and 2 behind Jim Foose actually, and I think he just got in the apron and lost it right there. So really,
Cameron, I think he was trying to do the rallycross course that they have here in iRacing.
That is a very fun course. I would love to see Cup cars on that actually. So if they could, that happen.
If they could survive more than a lap, I don't know if they'd be able to, but if they can, let's make that happen, ladies and gents. Nonetheless, Kelsey Rogers is going to stay out there on the racetrack. Not even a lap on his tires. He will remain your race leader, as we've now made it under 40 laps to go. But definitely netcode been a major talking point here tonight. Kind of definitely had championship implications for certain drivers, including the 42 of Jim Foose. The 11 of Tyler Seville caught up in an accident with some netcode. So definitely not what you want to see as a race car driver out there. And Cameron, we've seen a lot of contact amongst these drivers here tonight. So that, coupled with the fact that we have this netcode issue, means that maybe you don't want to be so argy-bargy.
Yeah, it really looks that way tonight. I'm not sure what the deal is with iRacing. It's just one of those days, I guess. You know, they tend to happen from time to time where netcode just is awful. But really, I think, like you said, the mixture of the aggressive racing, championship implications. You know, it's kind of everybody's a little bit more anxious than they would be at a beginning of a season race. So I think just all that coupled with that is kind of why we've seen a couple cautions here tonight. But I really don't think it's been too bad, all things considered. It's been a relatively clean race otherwise. We're having some issues here, but down to 37 laps to go. And can we just talk about how good of a strategy call that was for Kelsey Rogers, staying out on 2 tires and getting the caution at the perfect time, right when he was about to be passed for the lead. and then getting himself back on sequence with everybody else. So the race really falling into the hands of that 35, or into the lap of that 35, it seems.
Yes, this time by we'll have 36 laps to go in the DMLC Racing Channel Desert Sun 150. Going back to what does ISM Raceway look like? Well, Dragon's Air on here in YouTube has said it looks like a crooked D, and that's a good way to describe it. Of course, Cameron, going back to what you said, they call Richmond a D-shaped oval, and this is a crooked D. So our producer's now saying I can't say crooked D. So, I'll just shut up and not say anything here, but pace car lights are off. And, man, who knew that trying to come up with a name for the shape of Phoenix ISM Raceway include ovulating and crooked Ds. Anyway, I just want everyone watching to know.
As our producer is handing both of us our pink slips on our way out. But we're going to take the green flag here real quick. Right there, pace car is off. Field in the hands of Kelsey Rogers, and a great restart right on the loud pedal out of turn number 4. Good restart. He's got about a 3-car lead over that 55. The battle for fourth right now. Jared Mogart has slotted himself into the 3rd position, but Gary Whitson and Mitch Brown going at it. That battle's going to end pretty quickly, and now Troy Haight, the 17 of Richard Stallings, battling off in turn number 2. That's back for the 9th position. That's our first side-by-side battle on the racetrack. Richard Stallings on that outside line. He's going to take it pretty easily. So himself around that 28 to get himself back into the 8th position. That 17's been pretty good all day, Peter. It hasn't really been. He hasn't really had the track position to kind of show his speed right there as he gets behind the 24, but been a very solid contender. Now we're looking out the back of 35 of Kelsey Rogers. We heard him say that the car was a little bit tight on kind of fresh tires, I guess we would say, seeing as he wanted to loosen his car with the 2-tire strategy. Maybe now that his car is on 4 tires, maybe he's out there a little bit tight.
Yeah, definitely interesting to see. Of course, track conditions changing here at the start of this race. It was about 100-degree track temperature. Now it's down to 89-degree Fahrenheit track temperature. So this track will continue to gain grip as this race continues on. So definitely very, very interesting to see how that is changing some of these drivers. Drivers like Yazik, who tend to like a slicker racetrack now, might be having to adjust to the cooler track temperatures. Of course, he does have the 00 of Jared Mogart right underneath his spoiler. That will loosen him up as he works his way now into turn number 3 and 4. And this man right here, Jared Mogart, the winningest driver here in the American Sim Racing Series, Premier Series this year, is looking for yet another victory as we now have just started. Oh, Kelsey Rogers hit the apron. That's going to open the door for Brian Yazik as well as Jared Mogart as we're 2 wide down the backstretch for the race lead.
In turn number 3, who's going to have the advantage? Kelsey Rogers on the outside. We've seen that one be strong all day, but Brian Yazik, we know he's probably the quicker car at this stage in the race. He's stuck on the inside. Now he's going to be under fire from Jared Mogart in that 00. He's pinching that 00 up to the outside wall as much as he can, but I think through turns 1 and 2 here, that 00 on the outside line going to have the advantage. Certainly off of turn number 2. He's got a nose ahead of the 55, and you got to think that Kelsey Rogers in that 35 absolutely loving this. He made a mistake down in turns 1 and 2, and he's going to be getting out of it pretty okay with those 2 battling side by side right behind him. And we know both of those championship drivers do not want to give up whatsoever. Brian Yazik wants to get his first win of the season. And, Jared
contact
Mogart
behind the 24 is gone around. Sorry to cut you off, Cam, but the 24 of Alan Young went around off the nose of the 17. Luckily for Alan Young, he's not going to lose too much ground, but I think he's going to show some displeasure to Richard Stallings here. I'll see what happened here on the replay. And the 17 and the 24, a little bit of a nudge right there on the center of the corner. And the 24 did kind of a half spin. The 17 helped him out, kept him going straight, so he's not going to lose too much ground. But definitely not what those 2 wanted to have happen out there on the racetrack. Once again, sorry to cut you off.
No, you're fine, Peter. You're right on board with from that car. Yeah, the little bit of contact there from the rear end you saw right there. So no netcode involved there for once. That was a legitimate accident. iRacing getting it right for once. But you see, it looks like the 17 just got a bit of a better run. He got on the gas just a little bit earlier than 24, and just a bit of contact there set the 24 round.
Yeah, just a little nudge, and now we'll see who decides to come down pit road. Will we see any two tire takers, Cameron? It's been 17 laps since these drivers last took tires, and we saw it work out for Kelsey Rogers just a few runs ago. Will he take 4 this time or 2? Only time will tell as they head down pit road at 45 miles an hour. Who will make that two-tire strategy? I'm sure some driver will try it. Cameron, would you try it at this point in the game, or do you think it's still too early for 2 tires?
I think absolutely. If you're one of the drivers in the championship hunt that probably hasn't had such a good day, maybe Tim Minot or even Jared Haggerty, he's been solidly in the top 10, but not up there in the top 3. So I'd say for them, it might be a strategy call to make, as I believe Jared Mogard actually did it right there. Mitch Brown, Troy Haight all on 2 tires. So Peter, I think our question was just answered right there, and not the answer I was expecting.
Yeah, it looks like we have a couple of drivers on 2 tires, and perhaps Richard Stallings in the number 17. He did stay out, led a lap, but he's going to come down pit road this time. I think he's going to have an EOL for that contact there with the number 24 machine anyway, so that's probably why he's electing to come down pit road on this second lap. And there is the modified, the 42 of Jim Foose. Let's see if Jim Foose can still gain a position. He can still gain a position, but he's going to need to have a couple of drivers drop out very, very quickly if he's going to see if he can gain any more spots. There is that number 17 of Stallings. There's the 00 of Jared Mogard, who will inherit the race lead now that the 17 has pitted. The 51 right behind him on 2 tires as well. First car on 4 tires, well, that would be Kelsey Rogers in the 4th position. So top 3 on 2 tires. Cameron, good call, I think, but only time will tell.
Yeah, how ironic must it feel to be Kelsey Rogers with that 2-tire call kind of getting him to the lead, and now the 4-tire call later on the race kind of being the reason he's losing the lead. So definitely a bit of a flip-flop there, but it'll be a good race. We saw the 51 and the 00 racing just a couple laps ago with 4 tires on both their cars, so now they have 2 with a couple others behind them as well. So I think it'll be very interesting these last 25 or so laps, and I think we're going to be in for a good race. I'm actually going to be excited to see how that 35 can get through the field if he's able to. We know he's got the speed and some track position, so it'll be really cool to see.
Yeah, it'll be very, very interesting to see. And of course, with Mogard being a very dominant force in this AEA Premier Series all year long, I'm sure he will not go down without a fight, but there will be less than 25 laps to go when we go back to green flag here in just under a half lap as they pace around at 55 miles an hour. And say we do have a couple cars sitting on pit road. One of those is the 06 machine of Jack Wells. In a couple of laps, he will possibly get passed by Jim Foose, but nonetheless, pace car is off. Green flag back in the air. 00. Good restart by Jared Mogard. And let's keep an eye on those cars on 4 fresh tires. Kelsey Rogers specifically, he's the first one on 4 fresh tires. Got a good jump to the outside of Troy Haight in the number 28 machine. He was on 2 tires. And Kelsey Rogers all of a sudden going to close in on the back bumper of the number 51 of Mitch Brown. Let's see how this all plays out as the 55 is side by side with the 33. That's Brian Yazik underneath Gary Whitson, but that's going to sort itself out as we're now single file for the first 8 cars.
Off of turn number 2, I think for Jared Mogard, he wasn't expecting that 35 to get around Troy Haight and others as quickly as he did, so might be a bit of worry in the cockpit of that machine, but actually he's about to be up on the rear end of that 51 of Mitch Brown, so I think that 35 absolutely being a little bit quicker at this stage on those 4 fresh tires, and might be a matter of time before we see him in a battle for the 2nd position. But there's Gary Whitson and Brian Yazik. Seems like they've been together all day as well. That is for the 5th position, and Gary Whitson has taken it from Yazik. So Yazik a bit further back than he's been most of the day. He was the dominant car early, had some trouble, but was able to get himself back up to the fight for the lead. But this is about the furthest back he's been since that. So not sure what's wrong with that 55, but definitely not the pace we saw earlier from him.
14 wins between the top 2 drivers on the racetrack right now this year in the American Esports Association Premier Series. But Kelsey Rogers has yet to go to victory lane. He's on 4 fresh tires. Will he be able to track down these 2 drivers in front of him? We'll find out now in 20 laps. Troy Haight right there in 4th. He's done a fantastic job on 2 tires. He wasn't up near the front, but now he's running in the 4th position. Got Gary Whitson behind him, but look at the number 51, Mitch Brown, currently running in the 2nd position. He's looking to see if he can get around Mogard, but Mogart's being very defensive, Cameron. Running a little bit higher line, at least he was this time by, however. The 00 is going to cut down to the inside line, and watch Mitch Brown. He's going to close in on him all the way down the front stretch here until turn number 1 and 2. The 00 runs very high, and Cameron, that's not the line you want, but caution is out on the racetrack. J.R. Bash in the number 4 machine. There's no 0 before his number. The 4 machine has gone around on the front stretch. He's going to get that thing righted here as we are now under caution and hard in the inside wall. You can see that there.
Yeah, and that was shaping up to be a fantastic 3-way, maybe 4-way battle for the lead before that came out. But we'll see. Richard Stallings there in the 17. Might be some contact there. And out of turn number 4, yes, that 4 was pitched into a half spin and then a full spin when it finally nosed into the wall, and a lot of damage on that machine. So he's going to have to spend some time on pit road for repairs. But definitely that 3-way battle for the lead, Peter. We're getting down to the end of this race, and you can tell the intensity's picking up. It's getting really good up there.
A lot of cars out there with some form of damage as well. It's been an absolute rough and tumble race here today. Lots of action all the way around this 1-mile racetrack. There's even some accidents that haven't brought out the yellow flag. As Kelsey Rogers, he was thinking of coming down pit road, but thought better of it. Anyone gonna come down pit road? Looks like we might have a few takers near the back of the field, but that's not very many. It looks like Steve Buhala will be the first one on pit road, along with the 11 of Seville and the number 4 of J.R. Bash. There's the 26 of Lee Staples. Might need a few staples in the front end of that number 26 machine. Looks a little crumpled up there. There's the 73 of Holstein, who qualified 4th in this race, and definitely seems like Holstein's race just hasn't gone quite to plan. But Cameron, see if you can dial someone up. Anyone that you want to interview here, so you can drag them up into the booth as they go here under caution. It'd be interesting to see if we can talk to the number 41 machine. We haven't heard much from Tim Knott here tonight, but Knott is needing a good
just
night.
make sure he's not near me, okay, Jason?
Well, you just came in at the wrong time, Tim. Tim Knott, you came into the 3Y TV booth. We pulled you in at probably the wrong time. But we're going to talk to you a little bit about your playoff standings here tonight. How's that number 41 looking out there, and how are you going to get into the next round of the playoffs?
Yeah, right now I'm looking pretty good, I guess. If I can just hold what I got, I'll be happy. It's not over till it's over, though, I can tell you that.
It is definitely not over till it's over. But definitely, you've kind of had an up-down roller coaster race in that 41. But like you said, you're in a good position right now, running inside the top 10. How's it looked from your perspective out there? There's been a lot of action on the racetrack.
Well, I think if we could just go green till the end, I'd have a better chance. These cautions don't help me any.
Yeah, we've seen the inside groove not working as well. It works well for maybe a lap or two, but then the outside line seems to be the best place to make a pass. It also seems just very difficult to make a move down there on the inside. Would you rather be restarting on the inside or on the outside?
To be honest, I like it on the inside on the restarts. Some guys like the outside, but I prefer the inside.
All right, well, let's see what you can do on this restart here. Restarting in the 9th position. Tim, you're about to go back to green flag here in just a lap, but best of luck, buddy.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, that is driver of the number 41, Tim Knott, Dirty Bird Sim Racing driver and we kind of pulled him up at the wrong time, perhaps. But nonetheless, keeps things interesting here on 3Wide TV, as we'll have a 14-lap shootout camera. And interesting to hear that he likes restarting on the inside. We've seen that be a pretty good move for a couple of drivers. You know, do you think it's going to be advantageous here on the restart?
I think through turns 1 and 2 on the restart, the inside is the place to be, and then you kind of want to be on the outside 3 and 4. So definitely is kind of ambiguous as to what really is the better way, but it's all up to driver preference. But either way, green flag out here at Phoenix once again. Jared Mogard and Mitch Brown kind of lockstep with each other. Good restart for both of them. They have some 3 wide behind them. Almost Gary Whitson, that 33, looking way low on the racetrack under Kelsey Rogers in that 35. Remember, he is the first car on 4 tires in this race, and really has a bit of distance to catch those 2 in front of him. But Troy Haight and Gary Whitson going at it for the 4th position there out of turn number 4, and Troy Haight on the outside, not able to get the momentum to get around that 33. Some contact there into turn number 1.
Yeah, that might have been a little bit of netco between the 33 and the number 28 there. But look at Kelsey Rogers, got a fantastic run.
Battle for the lead.
Out of turn number 2, as did Mitch Brown. And Mitch Brown now to the inside of Mogard. And if I'm Kelsey Rogers, I'm just going to have to try and figure out which lane to go with here, because these 2 dogs right in front of them, they're going to race this one all the way to the end. And, oof, man, a little bit close there on the front stretch between the 00 and the 51. But I think Mitch Brown led that lap, ladies and gentlemen, by 0.001 of a second. Ooh, almost contact between Kelsey Rogers and the 00 of Mogard, as they're now side by side for a second. Can Kelsey make this move work through turn number 3 and 4? We've seen it very difficult to pass on the inside line here today, but he's going to have a pretty decent run here on the front stretch. He's going to stay at the 00's door as he dives it off into turn number 1 and 2, but ooh, gets a little bit in there too hard, and Kelsey Rogers has to back out, and Mitch Brown is now your race leader all alone up the front.
That was a huge move for the 35, and it definitely did not work out whatsoever. Almost contact there with the 00, but losing all of his momentum. There's Jared Haggerty and yeah, that's Jimmy McKee, I believe. Actually, no.
Yes, it is.
Actually. I was not sure what I was reading there, but yeah, it's Jimmy McKee. Tim not as well. We just talked to him. And we saw that 31 of Jimmy McKee. He was in a lot of trouble early on this race, got himself back up into the 7th position, so a great recovery for him. And good to see that car actually still running after all the front end contact it has had, but Alan Young and Tim Knott going at it. And I think Jared Mogart has actually fallen away from Mitch Brown by about a half a second now, and Kelsey Rogers a full about second back from Mitch Brown. So it's looking pretty good for that 51 right now. Ooh, contact out of turn number 2.
Yeah, that's the number 24 of Alan Young in the outside wall. He was inside the top 10, but he's going to slide all the way back now to the 12th position as Jason Stewart is going to get around him. What a night for that number 1 machine, to the front, to the back. Whole bunch of damage, but now running in the 12th position, just 2 spots outside of the top 10. Actually, no, excuse me, he's up to the 11th position. Last time by, he gained 2 spots, so he could only... Yeah, if he can get around one more car, he'll be inside the top 10. What a story that would be after just a roller coaster night. But at least for now, Mitch Brown, half a second lead over Jared Mogart. Kelsey Rogers another half second back, and then Gary Whitson in the number 33, about a quarter second behind Kelsey Rogers. So everything looking good for the number 51 right now, as we only have 7 more miles in the penultimate round of the Sim Marketing Solutions Cup Series here in the American Sim Racing Series. And these laps, they go down very, very quickly here.
Yeah, and I saw the 00 of Jared Mogart actually change his lineup in turns for a little bit. He drove it in a little bit deeper, but I think it might have hurt him off a little bit here. But we're on board with Brian Yazik now, back in the 6th position. He's running behind Troy Haight, who actually used some strategy to get himself up to the top 5. But for Brian Yazik, he's got to feel like at this point in the race, 6 laps to go, so still a lot of time for something to happen, but he's got to feel like a bit of a lost opportunity for a win. That car was so quick early on this race and just got himself back in the pack and really not able to recover from his right there out in the wall off turn number 2. Kind of his lowest running position all day, really, up back there in the 6th position, under that 28 of Troy Haight, trying to get to 5th, and might be looking for 4th here. But Jared Mogart actually has fallen off of Mitch Brown by quite a bit. He might have gotten the wall a little bit, and he's going to fire for Kelsey Rogers for 2nd into turn number 1, Peter.
Yeah, we've seen this before. Last time it didn't work out all too well for the number 35 machine, but this time Kelsey Rogers has a little bit better advantage coming through the dogleg on the back stretch off into turn number 3 and 4, but that number 35 running really shallow entry into turn number 3, you'd have to think that will hurt him on exit of turn number 4, and it does. So Jared Mogart holds on to that second spot as we now only have 3 more laps around ISM Raceway. And keep an eye on that number 33, Gary Whitson. He's been in the top 5 all night long. There's the number 6, Jared Haggerty. And what about Jimmy McKee? We have a caution. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have green-white checker here at ISM Raceway as the 26 of Lee Staples has gone around on the backstretch. So this could change everything. To pit or not to pit, Cameron, that is the question. And it looks like he just got into the wall there coming out of turn number 2, spun himself into the inside wall. Tough break for that number 26 machine.
Absolutely, and you got to think all of these drivers up here at the front are probably wondering why me, because for Mitch Brown, it was looking good. He had about a second lead over Jared Mogart, and Mogart a bit slower than Kelsey Rogers, it seems, so that battle was going to heat up a little bit, but definitely a bit of a strange caution, I have to say, Peter. That car was well on the inside line of the racetrack, but of course this is a newer iRacing track where cautions come out a bit easier, but here we go. Strategy calls coming. They're all working overtime, and it's like Kelsey Rogers and Jared Mogart both electing to stay out. Mitch Brown never had any intention of coming down pit road, and I'm not surprised by that, Peter, but I also kind of am.
Yeah, I think that was going to be one of those things. If the top 5 stayed out like they did, I expect to see most of the field kind of stay out. But if one of those top 5 had come down pit road, I think we would have seen basically everyone on pit road. It's kind of a monkey see, monkey do type thing. We do have a couple of takers, though. One of those is Lee Staples. There is another machine that might be the 47. Not quite sure. Couldn't see who that is. But Jim Foose in that number 42, he's going to actually, ladies and gentlemen, get the wave around. He's the first car 1 or more laps down. And he will now only be 17 laps down. So he's actually gaining time on the race leaders since coming back out there on the racetrack. So give a round of applause to Jim for working his way around this racetrack nice and smoothly once he returned. I think that's really a pity kazoo there. It's kind of a, like a pity goal in soccer, right at the end. But nonetheless, Jim Foose looks like he's going to come out of this thing with a 23rd place finish. He did gain a couple spots since coming back onto the racetrack. Not quite sure if that's going to be enough for that number 42 to stay in the Premier Series side of things. It might just be, as some of the other drivers around him in points have also had some struggles here tonight. But nonetheless, pace car still out there on the racetrack, Cameron, but it's going to be a 2-lap shootout.
Yeah, and that's really going to be very interesting because, some drivers like the outside line, some drivers like the inside line, and not everybody's going to line up where they want. So we've seen physical racing here all night tonight, and you got to think with 2 laps to go, it's going to get even more physical, and I think it's going to be a pretty wild one.
Well, we do have 3 attempts at the green-white checker finish here in the American Sim Racing Series Sim Marketing Solutions Cup Series. So we are now in overtime for tonight's DMLC Racing Channel 150. And you can see that number 51 machine, Mitch Brown. He was so close to getting that checkered flag. Had about a second lead over Jared Mogart, but that will now all be erased as pace car lights are off. We'll get set to go back to green flag racing here in 1 lap. But Cameron, do you think there's going to be any argy-bargy up the front?
Well, I do see that the sun has come out, so all these drivers are going to be having a little bit less grip on this restart than they've had really since about the first 10 laps of the race. So, and the wind's picking up a bit too. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens down here in turn number 1. I'm really going to be excited to see if anybody gets sideways or anything like that, because see, the sun is out and the track temperature is increasing. So probably the worst time for these drivers to have it happen, but it's definitely going to be fun for us to watch.
And we'll see if these drivers get those elbows out here as the pace car will head down pit road here in the DMLC Racing Channel Desert Sun 150. Who will come away with the checkered flag here tonight? Green flag back in the air. 51, Mitch Brown, great restart. The 00 of Mogard caught sleeping just a little bit as they head off into turn number 1. Look at Kelsey Rogers underneath the 00. Look, Kelsey Rogers trying to get that second position to see. Oh, we have contact in the back. Tim Knott's got around the 17. He's going back on the racetrack in the 41. Caution back in the air. And we're going to have a second attempt at a green-white checker, and that's not what the 41 wanted to see. Championship implications once again here at the end of this one. Let's see what happened here on the replay.
Saw 3 wide there and a bit more netcode, Peter. Kind of been the story all night tonight. Netcode just proving absolutely ridiculous at times, but there might have been contact there without netcode, but definitely helped by it. But just ran out of racetrack there off turn number 2, something we've seen a couple drivers do tonight, and unfortunately Tim Knott, one of our championship contenders, getting involved. But it's actually I'm actually really surprised that nobody else hit him in that. Oh, actually after that there was somebody else.
Yeah, Sawville and the 1 of Jason Stewart, both of those cars championship contenders in respective series. And the 1 machine actually went upside down, did a complete roll, Brendan Gonstyle, and ended back on his wheels. There he goes for that flip upside down, and looks like he landed on those wheels just like Brendan Gon did and drove away, but he's now killing lots and lots of bugs out there on the racetrack.
And the 55 of Brian Yazik has actually retired from the event for whatever reason, but he is no longer on the racetrack or in the session, so not sure what went down there, but he was running in the I believe about the 6th position.
Yeah, that is definitely a tough break for that number 55 machine. Looks like he just peeled over to the left side of the track, and that's a good old Alt F4 there, Cameron. Looks like he didn't really want to see another attempt at a green-white checker, perhaps. Maybe he had something to do, something he needed to do instead of finish this race, but he's not a championship contender in that number 55 machine, so just out there to try and have some fun. But we'll have another attempt at the green-white checker. Will Mitch Brown continue to stay out front? But I gotta say, Cameron, the 35, Kelsey Rogers there, he was able to get around Mogard when the caution flag was thrown. So Kelsey Rogers is now your second place car. The 00 Mogard third, the 33 of Gary Whitson in fourth, followed by the 28 of Troy. Excuse me, the 28 of Troy Haight. So gonna be interesting to hear what Kelsey Rogers can do with Mitch Brown on this restart.
Yeah, really, it's going to be a question of whether he's able to time it with Mitch Brown well or not. If he can get a pretty good restart and hang with the 51, I think he's got a fighting chance. But the 51 has been getting absolutely monstrous launches on these restarts. So, if he's able to do that once again, it might be a little bit harder for Kelsey Rogers to do anything. But I think Kelsey probably has gotten the pattern that Mitch has been putting down. He's kind of been going earlier on the restart. So, maybe now he'll go later or whatever, but definitely something to take a note of as a driver.
Yeah, for Tim Knott, unfortunately for him, he's going to drop all the way down to the 19th position. He was hoping to come away with a top 10 here. As I say that, he's actually going to get around Chris Titus, who has been giving an end of longest line penalty for the contact that brought out this last caution, but this will be our second attempt at the green-white checker, and Mitch Brown hoping to come away with another victory here in the American Esports Association Premier Series, but it will take 2 green flag laps for him to possibly get that checker flag. Or what can Kelsey Rogers do in that number 35? What can Mogard do? We've seen Mogard have some amazing last lap finishes this season. Oh my goodness, that 51 machine on the loud pedal way early. As soon as the pace car dived down, that number 51 was on it, and he's going to skip away here as they dive off into turn number 1. They're side by side now for second. Looks like Kelsey Rogers is going to hold on to the second spot, at least for now. The battle is now going to be a little bit behind them. You can see some hard racing a little bit further back in the pack as this field now really dwindling as we work our way through turn number 3 and 4. Still green, no caution, as the white flag will be displayed. the next flag will end this race, and I believe the next flag will have to be the checkered flag. What can Kelsey Rogers do? Remember, the last time your leaders were on pit road, Kelsey Rogers took 4. Your leader, Mitch Brown, took 2. As they're halfway down the backstretch, Cameron, looks like that 51 has clean sailing up the front.
Yeah, he's going to be sailing pretty easy here off of turn number 4, and ISM Raceway winner chicken dinner goes to the 51 of Mitch Brown. A very good strategy call there to stay ahead of the 35, Kelsey Rogers himself, getting a strategy call to get up there and have a shot for the win, but definitely not really a clean day for either of those drivers. They both had issues here and there, but Mitch Brown, damage or no damage on that rear end, doesn't matter. He gets another win here on the series and has 2 wins to go into Homestead with. So a lot of momentum on that 51 team. Definitely going to be a championship threat once we get there.
And Mr. Producer, just want to make comment that Andy Veltman was turned around coming to the finish line on the last lap in the number 97 machine. We'll have to see if we can go back, as you can see that one as a 51 of Mitch Brown will burn it down here on the front stretch. Remember, he's already got a win in this round of the playoffs, both in the Premier Series and the Cup Series side back at Vegas, I believe. So that number 51 machine is sitting pretty into the next round of both the Premier and the Cup Series. Now, of course, Mitch Brown, he will be racing for the championship in this SMS Cup Series at Homestead, Miami. Into the penultimate round of the Premier Series, it will be the top 6 that work their way to the next round of the Premier Series. And like I said, the top 4 will battle it out for the Cup Series title. As we get the Polish victory lap out of that number 51, honoring Alan Kulwicki. Like you said, Cameron, Kulwicki getting his win here at Phoenix back in the day. This track has a lot of history around it, and that's what that 51 is showing. Do want to see if we can get a replay of that last lap spin for you. Sounds like we're going to get that lined up here in just a little bit. Here we go. Let's see if we can see what happened to the number 97 of Andy Veltman coming out of turn number 4 as they race their way to the checkered flag. You see he's tucked up behind the number 6 of Jared Haggerty here inside the top 10. Looks like maybe the 24 overdrove it a little bit, but the 66 of Edward Bray gave him a little bit of a nudge there. And that number 97 did a good 360, but unfortunately, look at all those spots that he's losing out there on the racetrack. And that's not what that number 97 wanted to have happen. Remember, Andy Veltman, I believe he was the first caution of the day, and he had recovered oh so nicely to be inside the top 10 and was even racing for the 6th position when he got turned around there coming to the checkered flag. So definitely a tough break for the number 97. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as the track falls silent, we're going to step away for a brief moment, line up some interviews for you of your top finishers here today, and we'll be right back here on 3 Wide TV. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to ISM Raceway. It was a thrilling race here today. Lots of caution, lots of action all the way around this place, but I've caught up with the 3rd place finisher here tonight, and Jared Mogard. Good run for you in that 00. Started all the way back in the 23rd position, worked your way up into the top 5 there fairly quickly by about lap 40 or so, and it was a great battle between you and Mitch Brown and Kelsey Rogers all the way to the end there. You did take 2 tires the last time you were on pit road, was that a good call? And just talk us through your race.
Well, the race was interesting. I don't know. I don't know if it was the right call or the wrong call. We ended up third there. We were too tight prior to that pit stop, so we figured 2 tires would loosen us up, and it didn't. It made us tighter and won. And I was just kind of tight the whole night. Couldn't really pass all that great. Felt like I was better on even tires than the 51 and 35 and 55, but we never really got a long run tonight for I don't know what reason. But so I don't really know what we had. We did not have a short run car is basically what it came down to.
It was definitely an interesting night. Kind of like you said, there was a lot of bumping and banging out there on the racetrack, a little bit between you and some other race cars out there. But is that, do you think, due to the fact that this is an elimination race, the championship is winding down, we only have one more Cup Series race at Homestead Miami, which congratulations, you will be a part of. But do you think that kind of plays a part in why this race was kind of like it was like tonight?
Well, I'm gonna choose my words wisely, but from what I've seen, it was guys that aren't in the playoffs, racing playoff drivers like they're gonna win $200 at the end of the night is kind of what I thought it was like. But I don't really know what the yellows were toward the back or whatever. But up there in the front, I mean, I know you're racing for the lead and it's hard to pass and all that, but I don't know. It just seemed like there were some guys up there that were racing like it was 500 to win or something tonight. I don't know what it was, but I don't know if it's a track car or he just forgot how to drive or what. But it was definitely an interesting night, like you said, and like I said, it was interesting tonight for sure.
Absolutely. Well, the next race in the Cup Series side is Homestead Miami. Going to be a very interesting one there. So first off, I want to hear, what are your thoughts about Homestead Miami? Is that a track that you enjoy? Will you be able to close out the season with a Cup Series title?
Yeah, I enjoy the place. I haven't ran it with this new package, so I don't know what it's going to run like. I watched the Peak Series last week on TV. It looked like they were able to move around a little bit, run the bottom, run the top. So that's promising that we'll be able to do that next week or whenever, a couple of weeks, I think it is, or whatever. But when we go there, we should be able to run the top and the bottom and move around a little bit, which will be fun. Manage the time. I like the place. We were able to win the Truck Series last year, actually raced in Mitch. So it's going to be fun to race for the Cup title again this year. So looking forward to it. Hopefully it's a good run, and hopefully we can move around a little bit, and the setup allows us to race, and it should be fun for the fans for sure.
Absolutely. Another thing, next week we have Lucas Oil Raceway Park, I should say, LORP, IRP, ORP, whatever you want to call it. What are your thoughts about that? That's on the Truck Series side of things.
Yeah, that's another place I really enjoy too. It races like a short track, but it also races. To me, in my opinion, it races similar to Iowa in ways as well, and I really like Iowa as well. So looking forward to next week, and looking at the points, looking at them the other day, we kind of need some points there. Our Talladega finish was less than stellar last week in the truck, so we need the points, which is kind of crazy to think after the year we've had, but we need the points on the Truck Series, so we're excited for it, looking forward to it, really enjoy the track, so hopefully everything goes according to plan next week.
Absolutely. Jared, before we let you go, you got some shout-outs for us?
Yeah, first off, I want to congratulate Mitch on the win. Hats off to him. He earned it, deserved it, and then I got to thank Splash and Go Graphics. I forget them every damn interview I am in. I forget them. It doesn't matter if it's here or somewhere else. I forget them. So Splash and Go Graphics, thank you guys for making our team cars look really good this year. I Buy Power Computers, Trishy Race Reports, and all the boys at MLSRN keep rolling. So we'll go get them next week. And thank you guys for the broadcast all year and all the fans for tuning in.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is your third place finisher here tonight, Jared. And we'll see you next week at LRP. Hopefully you can come away with a good finish.
Yep. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, I believe Cameron Rich has caught up with our second place finisher here tonight. Just came up a little bit short. Kelsey Rogers, Cameron.
Yeah, I got him right here. Kelsey Rogers, hey, what's up, bro? You got a copy?
Yep, I'm here.
All right. Well, weren't able to get the win tonight, but a good two-tire pit call there in the middle of the race or so that kind of got you up into the position and kind of just, you said it made the car a little bit looser. Did you kind of lose the handling there near the end when you had 4 tires?
Yeah, I think I got used to it on 2 tires. I think you kind of saw up front that 2 tires was going to hold its own for probably 20, 30 laps before you noticed any kind of a difference. It might even been a little bit faster, I thought. So the 2 up front, they made a good call. By the time the tires evened out, I was too busy battling Mogart to catch up to Brown, but good run by the top 3. Everybody in the top 5 had a pretty good, clean run tonight, so it was fun.
And getting word that you are officially in the top 4 of the Cup Series standings, so you are going to be at Homestead in 2 weeks' time, or so I believe. So first off, congratulations on that, and kind of want to ask you, what's your mindset going into that race? You got a chance to win a championship here.
Yeah, we got to figure out who we're going to be racing against, and it's who beats who that day. So it's really just me versus the 4 of them. So it'll be good. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, I want to ask you real quick. I know you're not in the championship hunt for the Truck Series, but they go to the Lucas Oil Raceway next week. So how you look forward to that one?
Yeah, unfortunately, I will be on the road for work next week, so I will not be able to join. But I'll be back the week after.
Definitely got a lot on the line for that. So going to be very cool to see that. But before I let you go, Kelsey, you got any shout outs you want to give us?
Yeah, I know the family's watching, so if they're still watching, good for the say hi to them. Yeah, that's about it.
All right, Kelsey. Well, not first place tonight, but a great run nonetheless. Led a lot of laps and definitely put on a show out there. So thank you very much for talking with us.
Yep, thanks, guys.
All right. Well, I believe that Mitch Brown is somewhere in here. He's he's right there. I believe Peter Short's caught up with him.
That I have, and tonight's winner of the DMLC Racing Channel Desert Sun 150 is driver in the 51 machine, Mitch Brown. And Mitch, my oh my, it was an interesting race all night long, but let me tell you what, you were up near the front, staying out of trouble for the most part. It looked like you clipped the wall a little bit early on, but you were able to battle through that and come home with the victory. What was going on from the driver's seat in the 51 machine here today?
We just took a lap by lap. You guys interviewed me early. I just took a lap by lap and just kind of keep all fenders on it. We did hit the wall a couple times, but it just adds character. It makes the car look like I did something, meaningful. But no, we just bided our time, and that I think that late race caution about 20. I forgot what lap it was, but we took 2 tires, and it worked out for us, and we got the win.
Well, you kind of already knew that you would be headed to Homestead, Miami, but you're also in, of course, to the next round of the AEA Premier Series playoffs. We got the Truck Series at Lucas Oil Raceway Park next week, and then, of course, the Cup Series finale at Homestead, Miami. Tell us a little bit about your past history with those 2 racetracks and whether you like them or dislike them.
I have no hard feelings with Lucas Oil. I've done pretty well there. Homestead, a little bit different story. Don't know how this package runs there. Plus with being a night race, it's gonna be a little bit different. We'll just see what happens. We'll just take it race by race and go on from there.
Well, that's definitely one way to take it. I know when I won my 3-wide racing league championship a couple of years back, I kind of took it 1 race at a time, and it worked out for me. So that's definitely a good strategy to have. This was a crazy race tonight. Do you expect to see it tuned down a little bit next week at Lucas Oil, or because it's a short track, do you expect to see some more crazy action next week?
The intensity just picks up at the end of the year. I feel like when you get down to the nitty gritty and you get that to the end of the year, guys start really forcing the issue. And you saw that a lot tonight. We had a lot of cautions. Some unnecessary, some people just not using their head and just driving smart. But we'll just see what happens next week, and we'll just try to survive and be there at the end.
All right. Well, before we let you go, Mitch, you got some shout-outs for us?
All right, let's go through the list. We gotta thank Patriot. Thank you for sponsoring the car. Gotta also thank Todd Kirkwood for taking me under his wing and being a great boss or co-owner. And I gotta also thank Grant Brown. He's my boss, kind of. I thank the league. Gotta thank Jim for putting on. Gotta thank my teammates. They did the best I could. Some of them had trouble tonight. And it was just sometimes you're the bug, sometimes you're the windshield. But gotta thank you guys as well. You guys do a fantastic job each and every week, and hopefully you guys can enjoy these last couple races of the season along with us.
Well, it definitely was an interesting race. Every single lap, like you said, we kind of took it lap by lap up here in the booth, and it definitely was an interesting one here tonight. But we're definitely looking forward to next week at Lucas Oil Raceway Park. And Mitch, hopefully you can come away with another good finish then for your championship hunt on the Premier Series side of things. And best of luck at LRP.
All right, thank you guys.
And real quick before we end this interview, I kind of want to. I heard you say that you didn't know about Homestead, Mitch. I just want to say that I want to tell you something about that track.
Oh, you do? Oh, please enlighten me, sir.
Oh yes, please.
Hold on.
Yeah,
I'm live right now. Cam, I'm so sorry about everything I've done to you in your past. You won a championship finally, so I'm gonna go back to being quiet again.
Did you wreck someone, Carlos? God damn.
Yeah, he wrecked me when I was in the Final Four for the championship and ended my championship.
Hashtag blame Carlos. Hashtag blame Carlos. We have an inside joke here on 3 Wide TV with Carlos and doing that, and I always manage to give him, a hard time for that because, quite honestly, it's pretty funny to me. But just because you told me that, I might put that on my car Homestead for the Cup Series and the Truck Series. I might have to. See, if you can get a deal with the driver of the 17 to switch numbers for a week, you will definitely have a bad time there.
Well, everyone, I think now we know a little bit about both Cameron Riches and Carlos Acosta's history, especially at Homestead, Miami. But Mitch, hopefully you have a little bit better luck out there once you do get around to that race, and we'll see you then.
All right, thank you guys.
All right, Cameron, we've come up with some good hashtags here tonight. Hashtag blame Carlos. Hashtag watching and learning from 3 Wide TV. Hashtag can't say ovulating or crooked D. Those last two provided by Will Worsler here. Make sure to hit us up on those Twitter handles with those hashtags down there. Yeah, just throw them all together. And of course, you can't forget hashtag win the lap. That was a good one earlier this season for all of you who watched the American Sim Racing Series week in, week out. But Cameron, I think it's time to take us through the final finishing results here tonight as we leave ISM Raceway for only a couple weeks. We'll be back here on the Truck Series side in a couple weeks. But there they are on your screen. As you can see, 4 of your top 6 finishers are playoff drivers. Mitch Brown, Kelsey Rogers, Jared Mogard. Those 3 drivers will advance in the Cup Series standings. Gary Whitson comes home 4th here tonight. Jimmy McKee comes home 5th. Jared Haggerty coming home 6th. He will also be one of the 4 drivers who will compete for the Cup Series championship. Troy Haight comes home 7th. Alan Young comes home in 8th. Richard Stalling recovers to finish in the 9th position. Alan Young recovered as well to finish 8th. A lot of these drivers had recoveries throughout today's race. The number 66 of Edward Bray rounds out your top 10, Cameron.
One of the 2 tire drivers at the end, number 30 of Brad Cross. A very quiet day for him. Comes home in the 11th position. Jonathan Holstein had some trouble there near the end. Comes home 12th. Steve Budhal, we saw him spun around a couple times. Rebounds for a 13th place finish. Tim Knott, he had some unfortunate issues there at the end, finishing 14th place in that number 41. J.R. Bash coming home in 15th. Chris Titus 16th. Richard Fletcher ran up front all day, coming home 17th. 18th is Andy Veltman. Lee Staples 19th. And 20th place, first car 5 laps down, or first car any laps down, number 1 of Jason Stewart.
Finishing in the 21st position is the number 11 of Tyler Seville. Brian Yazik come home in 22nd. Jim Foose, 23rd. He's one of your playoff drivers, but unfortunately will go no further in the Cup Series side of things. Jack Wells comes home 24th. Alex Giese, 25th. Ty Hester, 26th. And Bryce Whitson Jr. comes home 27th out of the 27 starters. Sam Maxwell did not start this race, but Cameron, it was an up-down night. I'm sure a lot of these drivers will be excited to see ISM Raceway in their rear-view mirror, at least for a few weeks until we come back here in the Truck Series side for the Sam Maxwell Customs Truck Series playoffs. But the Sim Marketing Solutions Cup Series only has one more race left at Homestead, Miami here in a couple of weeks. And Cameron, that's going to be an absolute fantastic race.
Yeah, really all of these playoff races in the American Sim Racing Series have been honestly bangers, so really definitely come check it out here on 3Wide TV, and it's going to be a really awesome race. But I think that's really all we got for you guys tonight. We're going to give some quick shout outs ourselves. First off, you viewers, all you guys are awesome, whether you watch our live broadcast or watch the replays. We love each and every one of you, and without you, 3Wide TV would be a thing, but it would be a lot worse of a thing. And I want to thank OCR TV for the awesome graphics that we have each and every week. They look very pretty. Also, Sim TV, Kyle Heyer and Finian DeCunha, two very awesome people providing us the track cameras each and every week. And then a couple league sponsors, Sam Maxwell Customs, Sim Marketing Solutions, Driven Designs, iRacingiFlag, and Kirkwood Transportation. But you know what, Peter? I think that's all we got for these guys tonight. What are your final thoughts on this one?
Well, I think if you put this race into 2 words, it'd probably be crazy race. It was crazy from the drop of the green flag. We saw some crazy net code. We saw some crazy spins. We see some crazy contact all the way around. But in the end, we saw a crazy driver in victory lane, that being the number 51 of Mitch Brown. Hopefully he doesn't hear me call him crazy, but whatever. If he does, he does. He is crazy fast, and that is why he's in victory lane. So all around, pretty crazy.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of pretty crazy, I think we're going to be done here for tonight. So from myself, absolutely am crazy. From Peter Short, a little bit more crazy. And Carlos, the craziest of us all.
Hashtag blame Carlos.
All you guys, make sure to hashtag blame Carlos and have a hashtag good night.
Hashtag see ya!